Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, goodness. Well, glad to be able to, connect after, after this past couple of weeks of stuff. Um,
Yes, sir. That was.
so I worked for a company called Aerotech, Allegius Group,
Mm-hmm.
and the owner, while we were there, when I was still working there, bought the Ravens, and when
Oh wow.
he went, yeah, Steve Buscemi,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
and when he bought the Ravens and they won the Super Bowl, at
Yeah.
our team meeting, he brought the Vince Lombardi trophy into our team meeting. So we all
What?
of us posed with the trophy, took loads of pictures and stuff. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
yeah, I loved Baltimore. I loved Annapolis. I loved the
Oh yep.
yeah, it was very hot and humid, but it was a
Yeah.
good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Summertime get real sticky and it's like somebody breathing on you.
Yeah. We had to come down for 2 weeks on training and stuff, but
Oh nice.
yeah. But anyway, I went to college in first in Selma, Alabama. Then I moved to Milwaukee,
Mhm.
and then
Okay.
I lived in LA for up to 2003 before moving to London. So good
Wow.
10 years in the States and stuff.
Wow. So you're originally from London?
Yeah, well, yeah, Liverpool. So I was born in Liverpool, but my parents are Nigerian, so
Got
that's
you.
my
Got
heritage. Yeah, but I was
you.
born
I've
in
been in
Liverpool.
Nigeria. Yeah.
Okay, on console. Yeah, we
Hmm.
about
Yeah, we
yeah.
did the Miss Commonwealth pageant. It was like a beauty
Okay,
pageant that it was there.
yeah,
Yep. Yep.
okay,
And we went
yeah,
there for Nelson Mandela when he first came home. They had a celebration for him for his birthday, and he asked his grandkids because he had Shaka Khan, Stevie Wonder, and a bunch of his favorites. So then he asked his grandkids who they would like to see, and they said my old group. So we ended
wow,
up coming over and participating in that in Nigeria, and I think it was in Durban was the
wow.
second performance. Yeah, that was like 1990, like 798.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That he would have been big by that time. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
I mean, what do we tend to do because we've got an international audience, and of course I know um, where you're from and stuff. But it's always good to start off with where you were born and raised, and so we just
Yeah.
go through the journey this way.
Okay. Shoot, that's
Yeah,
what's up. I'm ready
yeah.
whenever.
No, we can start now. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
where were
Okay.
you born and raised?
And Baltimore, Maryland. Baltimore,
Okay.
Maryland. I was born in. My parents both worked at a correctional facility, and it
Wow.
was called for juveniles. It was called the Maryland Training School for Boys. It's now called Charles Hickey, if it's still in existence. But we
Okay.
actually lived on the campus
Wow.
for like the most of my short part of my like before I turned like school age. And by the
Okay.
time I turned school age, I came into the city and started going to school in like East Baltimore, and we moved to East Baltimore.
Okay. And
Mhm.
growing up at home, what was there any what were the types of influences you had, especially singing and just your core to who you are?
Oh yeah, my mom was a choir directress. Like she would go like from church to church and get their choirs up and running. And she also had like her own little personal project, which was like all the kids from around her neighborhood from when she was young. Like all the
Wow.
kids from around her neighborhood, she would get them together and they would sing. And like my uncles on my mom's side, oh, like two of them were ministers of music also. So like they would
Wow.
play and she would teach the choirs their parts and stuff like that. So it was heavy gospel influence. And then when my sister and my little cousins, well, some bigger than me, some older, some younger, like all my cousins, she made us into a choir once we got
Wow.
old enough to sing. And she would just take us from church to church. My dad would drive and take us from church to church and we would sing. We'd be like all piled up just before they had the seatbelt laws.
My
So we had
God.
like we all sitting on each other's laps. Like we would come out the car, like you know how the clown car in the
Yeah.
circus, and it'd be
Yeah.
like a small car, and then you just see hella clowns just jump out, and they all. That's how we used to jump out to go sing. Like every
Wow.
Sunday, we would be at a different church.
My goodness.
Yeah.
It's the one thing that fascinates me, especially with a lot of R&B singers in America, is that the church was almost like the school for singing.
Yep.
What did you take from those early days of your mom and singing with cousins and family?
Mhm. Man, I mean, the biggest thing that I got from it, it made me basically like it taught me everything I knew, like as far as like breathing techniques and stuff like that, and crowd participation skills and things of that
Okay.
nature. But at the same time, it's like with so many young people singing, you don't realize if you're good or not because it's like they clap. If you know, like the black church, they clap for everybody.
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like sometimes the worse you sing, the harder they clap because they want you to hurry up and sit down. So they figure clap hard enough for him, he'll take a seat. So it's like growing up, I would always sing, and sometimes I felt like I was kind of good because like one time my pastor, because I sung my first solo when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
And I got a little older, like probably around like 10 or 11. And it was a guy who was a featured soloist. Like he did a whole concert and he asked me to be part of his concert. So like I came out and sang like 2 songs by myself. And when I finished, the pastor took up a collection for me.
Wow.
And like that was my first paid gig for real. He raised like $80. And
Wow.
because I didn't know any better, like I didn't know like how tithes and offering and stuff like that work with the 10% or whatever. I put half of the money back into the plate. Like I put like $43 back into the plate. And he
Wow.
ended up like, nah, this is for you. And he took back what I put in the plate or whatever and gave
Wow.
it back to me. So that was my first experience with that. And as I got older, finding out that I did actually have like somewhat of a gift,
Yeah.
it became like fun. It was fun, but it was work at the same time because like my cousin and I used to be like featured soloists. So it's like whenever they would do a concert, it was certain songs that I would sing. Like it'd be in our churches, it was different groups have a Sunday. Like we had the children's Sunday, then we have youth Sunday, and then we have women's Sunday, and then we have men's Sunday on the fourth Sunday. So it was all divided. But it was a certain song that I ended up singing that everybody liked. So regardless if it was our Sunday to sing or not, I would be just sitting in the audience, just taking in the service, and somebody would send a note up through one of the ushers to the pastor and tell them to have me sing that song. So
Wow.
as I became more, when we get into that later, like once I got acquainted with my singing group or whatever, and we were trying to do things, it was kind of tough because like my mom was her motto was never burn the bridge that brought you over. Like nobody even knew you could sing until you start singing in church. So now that you got people wanting to hear you on this side, we gonna do this first. So if they don't want you over here, then you can go over there. So it was
Yeah.
just like me sitting there loving the love from my church family, but at the same time hoping that they wasn't gonna call on me that week so I could go sing somewhere else with my singing group. So
Yeah. I mean, uh, did you did you ever think and I guess I want to go back to inspirations. I mean, when you
mhm,
what were you listening to? Because coming up, you know, the music scene, both in you know, I don't know if it's gospel, but both
mhm.
soul and R&B. What were you listening to in you know, grade school, middle school, high school?
And my family is really, really strict on the gospel. Like my mom's
Okay.
side of the family is really strict on the gospel. So they had like a reel to reel player. So a lot of the whinings, a
Okay.
lot of commission,
Okay.
and my granny, she actually listened to Christian music, which is kind of like gospel music, but you have more, it's like the pop side to gospel music. Like on the gospel is more, at that time it was more like the African American singers was
Yeah.
doing gospel. And then on the Christian side, it was more like other nationalities singing that. And then you have some African American singers in the Christian music, but they would sing more in like a style that wasn't like gospel. It was more like a propagation, like
Oh
that.
yeah, like
So
Ron
it's like,
Canoli kind of stuff.
yeah, there you go. I like him too. He sings about the created by his real name. I really like Ron Canoli.
Yeah.
And Whitney Phipps, I don't know if you're familiar with him. Like I really became a fan of him because even as a child, I had like a deep voice, a deep speaking voice. It's higher now because I trying to train myself to talk higher so I can hit higher notes when I sing. But like my
Okay.
initial voice was really deep. And when I heard Whitney Phipps, who was a baritone like me, is what I am naturally, I gravitated to his voice because he was sing real deep and he would sound real important when he sung. Big fan of him. Yeah. And later on, Daryl Coley was a big influence too. He's a great gospel singer. He actually sung, I saw a video of him singing Will You Be There with Michael Jackson
Wow.
before he passed away. And like coming up, people would always compare me because I was such a fan of Dru Hill, and I would try to sound like him. And like my cousin, who's a little older than me, and he has a similar singing voice to that same way. And people would compare me to Stevie Wonder, but I didn't know what Stevie Wonder sounded like. I knew who he was because I would see him on TV from time to time, but I didn't know how he sounded. But then later on, once I finally got to buy like CD full tapes with my allowance, and I bought a Stevie Wonder tape, then I understood what people were saying as far as like the melodies and stuff like that. But Stevie's range is incredible. He's a huge influence on me as well, but that didn't come until later on.
Yeah, till later. But then, were you growing up? Were you able to watch Soul Train or listen to the Michael Jackson and stuff?
Yeah, I would sneak. And the thing about my mom, she didn't want me listening to music that wasn't gospel music, but at the same time, she was a teacher. So the educator in her wanted me to read. So whatever magazines that I gravitated to, she would allow me to get the magazines just because she loved the fact that I loved to read. So I would more so like get the Jet magazines and stuff like that. And that's how I actually started writing songs. I would see the top 20 in the Jet magazine, and because I hadn't heard any of these songs, I would make my own song with my imagination of how I think that song went. And when I would go to my grandma's or would go to sometimes riding in the car with my dad, because my dad, he basically abided by what my mom wanted to do as far as when we were in the house. But if we was to take a ride somewhere and he was just driving, he loved Marvin Gaye, so he'll listen to Marvin Gaye. And my godfather, which is his best friend, he loved the Whispers. So I got little tidbits and stuff here and there. And like you said, Soul Train on Saturdays, like it was wrestling at 4 o'clock. Soul Train came on and wrestling. So I used to switch back and forth and get a little taste here and there, but I would have to turn the TV down. Because if my mom heard that music, she used to call it big music for whatever reason. But when she heard that once, she said, "Oh no, I don't like that big music. You better turn that off. Don't make me come in there." So I had to hurry up and either turn the volume down or hurry up and switch the channel back to wrestling, so she wouldn't know that I was listening to.
It is funny because I interviewed Rap Stevens, and he did his solo stuff with Foreplay. Then he
I
did,
remember that.
Rap, yeah. And he
I
had
think that's how I found you. I think that's one of the first interviews that I ever saw from you, and I've been hooked ever since. Like I sit at my desk, and you like to tease, so you put up, "No, this is coming up in 15 minutes," and I just keep switching back and forth and doing other stuff. And says, "Oh man, I hope I ain't missed nothing yet." And yeah, shout out to man, I used to love that song when I was coming up on video. It used to come on Video Vibrations.
Yeah,
on
I love BT. But Rap tells the same story that you do about a strict mom back in, and so it was very fascinating about the strict mom, which, and I think while we go through your career, we can see how important the foundations that your parents laid for you. Because I think I'm a therapist when I'm not doing this, and I know the importance of parents leaving a foundation. Because even if you go astray, you'll always get to come back home because it's really been ingrained in you.
Yes, sir.
When you were young and mom was strict with no Soul Train, no big music and stuff, how did you react? Did you think, man, mom's really strict? Or did you think, yeah, I understand? Or did you think, man, I wish I could, watch and listen and be exposed to more music?
You always tend to want what you can't have or what you're not supposed to have. So I definitely wanted a whole other experience. And in some stuff, it was funny because, like, as strict as she was, certain stuff she let me participate, like, because I definitely, when Michael Jackson, I meant to say that when you said his name earlier, when Michael Jackson, when I first found out about Thriller and Beat It and all that, like, my cousin was in a car accident, so he took his settlement money and he treated each one of his cousins to something, and I wanted a Beat It jacket. So he bought me a red beaded jacket, and my mom actually bought me a glove that you could get out the Right On magazine. She bought me a sparkling glove, socks, and it was shades, but the shades were like mirror tint, and they had a picture of Michael on the shades.
Wow.
And I went to a birthday party of one of my other cousins and got mobbed by her friends just for having the stuff on. Like, I'm definitely Michael Jackson. I'm clearly like the same size as the rest of the kids, but just because I had that on, like I got chased out of the party. Like that was my first experience getting mobbed, and I wasn't even doing anything. I just had the little look, everything but the Jerry curl.
Yeah.
Because he said if I got the Jerry curl, it might make my hair fall out. So
Yeah.
I think since I had to wait till I was 13 to get any curls put in my hair. So everything other than that, I had the whole look, church pants, high waters.
Well,
So yeah.
why was she fine with Michael Jackson? I mean, I know he was the biggest star around, but why
Mhm.
was she okay with you listening? Or
Oh, she let me watch the I mean, she let me put the clothes on, but it wasn't so much listening to music. Like I never
okay,
had any of the tapes. Only I remember one performance that she let, and she would let me watch the American Music Awards and the Grammys when they came on.
okay,
And I remember telling her I saw Prince, and this was around the time of when Doves Cry, Let's Go Crazy, and all that.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I just remember watching, and Prince took his shirt off. And I can't find his performance anywhere, but it seemed like in my mind, because I remember a lot when I was young, it's like he ran around the building inside the awards. And I remember telling my mom, like, I'm gonna be just like him when I get old. And she's like, no, you ain't evil. Turn it off. Yeah.
But when did the passion and the desire to become a musician,
Mhm.
or was that ever in you? Did you think you were gonna just go work in a bank or so? What was your thoughts growing thinking your long-term career?
When I discovered Another Bad Creation. And shout out to my man Ro. We actually follow each other on Instagram, Roro. But Another Bad Creation, the group that Michael Bivins brought out.
Yeah, Isha and Playground and Spider-Man. Yeah.
Right. They were kids and they were like roughly around the same age as me, probably a couple years younger. But
Yeah.
when I saw them, it's one thing to see artists and they all grown and you say maybe when I grow up I could be like that. But when I saw them, that kind of gave me hope that I could do it right then and there. And it's like I
Wow.
used to rap before I sang. Like rapping was more of my thing when I was young. Like cause singing we had to do in church. So singing at times kind of maybe felt like work. But then
Yeah.
rap, when I first discovered rap, like I used to write my little rhymes. I remember one time one of my classmates dad was a radio DJ or whatever. He came to the school and me and one of my other friends rapped for him. And he was ready to try to get us a deal somewhere doing that. But our teacher like hated on us and told him that that wasn't, we ain't make them raps up there. Something we was reciting something off the radio, which we weren't. It was actually our stuff, but
Wow.
my mom wouldn't have let me do it anyway.
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
was
yeah,
think
yeah.
about that. He thought we was good enough that he could have got some money with us. But yeah, discovering ABC and then going to school, I mean, going around my neighborhood, because like I said, like singing in church, I didn't really feel like that I was so anything special because like they cheered for everybody in church. But
Yeah, yeah,
there
yeah.
was a guy by the name of Marvin Fleet who lived in my neighborhood and he used to sing and all the girls just used to swoon. Like he used to sing all the R&B hits or whatever, and the girls used to swoon. And then one day, a girl made a request, and it was a gospel song. So me coming from church, he was like, "Oh, I don't know that," and I just like jumped out there. I was like, "I know it," and I don't even know if they knew I sang or anything, but I was like, "I know it." And he's like, "She's like, Ghost, can you sing it then?" And I started singing, and she actually cried.
Wow.
And I never seen anybody my age, like in church, you see people when they catch the Holy Ghost or whatever they call
Yeah,
it, when they get to jumping around, like you see that, and you see people crying and stuff. But to actually see a female in my same age group cry
wow.
because I was singing like that kind of sort of sparked something in me, you know, that this might be a way to get some ladies because at that time I had glasses, I was buck teethed, and so it was like, man, they wasn't really looking my way. But when I would start hitting a little tune or whatever, then it seemed like I could get a little small crowd around me. So I was like, yeah, this second thing might be something to it, you know?
Did you think of trying to be a solo artist, or did you always think, yeah, I need to be in a group, or what was the thinking?
Um, the way that the group started for me was because of the fact that I was very shy. Like
Okay.
I wanted to do what I did, but I didn't want to be necessarily the source of all the attention. So I
Okay.
started bringing guys with me to sing with me, and they weren't even necessarily singers. Like one guy was a dancer. He used to come on a local show that used to come on here called Shakedown. He was a dancer, and another guy who liked singing, but it wasn't like a big one on his priority list or whatever. And then another
Gotcha.
guy who was basically like just comical, like he was like a comedian or whatever. He's funny, and he cut hair. He used to cut my hair, so I just used to tell him, "Hey, y'all come stand around me while I
Oh.
sing it. Hit some little oohs and ahs or something with me or something like that." And next thing you know, it just became a thing where after school, just a bunch of us would just come and sing together. And then we were freshmen. So then the choir, I joined the choir, like some type of way. Our school choir teacher heard about me or whatever. Somebody brought me down to the choir room and I sung for her. And then she added me to the choir. And we would just sing. She never really gave me any parts or whatever. I was just there. I was like helping. She told me she was gonna make me a tenor because I was singing all deep and stuff. She's like, I'm gonna make you a tenor. This last thing I do. So she had me singing the tenor section and everything. And they did something for Valentine's Day called Singing Telegrams. And once we did the Singing Telegrams, basically somebody would pay, like, it's like Candygram, like you pay, and the person would actually knock on the door of your classroom and sing to whoever it is that the person bought the Singing Telegram for. So that's kind of how I became kind of known around my school, because before that, I was joking one day and I started singing Ralph Tresvant Sensitivity, and a crowd of girls came around. I think that's who took me to the choir director. One of those told me, like, you should come join the choir. But we did the Singing Telegrams, and from then on, I became like known around the school as just like a guy that could sing. And like people would come up like, sing me a song, boy, or whatever, or like a guy that might be having problems with his girl or whatever, and he'd ask me to come sing a song for his girlfriend or whatever like that. So I just kind of became known like that. And then, like I said, with the guys that I would sing with, people started weeding in and out. Like more people started just coming around just for something to do. Like we had people who did percussion, would beat on the walls and events and stuff and make beats, and then different singers around the school would come. And eventually I went to school with Sisqó in middle school. He and I went to a school called Northeast Middle School. And neither one of us were really big on letting everybody know we sung, because he actually had an aunt who was a choir directress, so he was heavy into the church stuff too. But we didn't know that about each other. Like I knew that he drew really well. Like he was an artist, and I was a rapper. Like I said, I used to rap, so we used to, like, they put us in a classroom because we were the same grade, but we were in different wings of the school or whatever. Like I was like in the nerdy classes and stuff, and he was with the regular, like the cool kids or whatever. So they had like a class where as though they put us together so that we could, like let people communicate with people that they wouldn't ordinarily communicate with. We kind of like gravitated to one another in that class. Like I remember if he probably came up to me because I wasn't really big on approaching anybody. I was just like a person that just wanted to be in my little shell and mind my business because I ain't want nobody cracking on me. So however it happened, he gave me a folder to check out some of his drawings, and I gave him a folder to check out some of the reps that I had been coming up with or whatever. And we just got cool from there. So one day we were singing at the school, me and the guys that I told you about. Yeah. And he walked in, we were singing. By that time we did start harmonizing, and I would, like we listen to the radio, we pick out parts to the best of our ability or whatever. And so he came along and he heard us singing, and we kind of looked at each other like, he's like, you sing? I was like, shoot, do you sing? So he asked if he could join in with us and put a note into the harmony that we were doing. And the note that he put in was like real different. We were singing Boys to Men. I think It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday. And he put in a way different note that was way different from the notes, any of the notes on the record, but it sounded really good and it sounded like real unique. So from then on, I doubt that he passed the class that he was supposed to take, because he was coming to my school for a shop class. He went to a trade school. So after school, he would come to a program and do more work at the school that I went to, which was right down the street. So after that, he just would come to the school every day, and him and I and whatever other group of guys, sometimes it would just be him and I, that just stand at the bottom of the school and sing, and like all a bunch of girls would just come materialize out of nowhere. And they asked me like, your boy coming today? Your boy coming today? And we would stand there and sing. And then it was a period where we didn't see him for a while. And Nokio, who was also in the group, he came with another guy that used to sing with me by the name of Bravette. Bravette brought him there, and he asked could he join up and sing with us too. So he started singing, and he was more of a business person. Like he wasn't more like of a vocalist. He was a model. He used to model in our school. Yeah, Nokio. He used to model at the school or whatever. So he was like kind of popular too. So he would model and get us to be able to sing on the fashion shows and stuff like that at school. And he was more so about the business side of things, like hooking stuff up, like
how old
I can
was
get us
he?
to be able to do this. He was the same age as us. Well, he was in the same grade as us. I think he's months older. Like he turned, like my birthday is in September and I turned 45 this year. he will turn 45 not until January of next year, because you see what I'm saying? His
Yeah.
birthday was like the year after. So it's like he's younger, but not that much younger.
But he was,
But
you said he was back
yeah,
in
he used
those
to
days.
wear like suits to school. Like he was real like business minded. Like he used to wear like showing up suits and carry a briefcase when he came to school. And he would like even like when Heavy D came to our school, Heavy D just ran past everybody and was like, no autographs, no autographs, and threw his hands up like not saying nothing. He some kind of way, because a bunch of us waited at the school to try to meet him, because we stayed there because we wanted to sing for him. Other people just wanted autographs and pictures or whatever. But however he made it happen, he was able to talk to Heavy D's people, whoever was with Heavy D. And Heavy D and his people sent some people down from Uptown Records or somewhere to listen to us sing at a house. And he set that up. So that was always his strong suit, like the business side of things.
But at that point though, was Nokio thinking, let's try and be, was he singing with you, or he was just like, let me manage you guys? Or
it was kind of like, we were just singing for the fun of it. Like we were singing because we liked it. And for me, even like I wanted to be famous like Enough Bad Creation, but to be honest, when I got the attention that we was getting from the females at the school at some point became enough for me. Like I ain't even care about if I ever came out with records that got famous or whatever. I was like, these girls right here like me, and they, they acting pretty much the way I imagine they would act to a star or whatever. So that was cool for me. He was always the person with, like I've started the group, like contrary to whatever was put out there. I started the group, but I started it for fun and recreation. He basically, when my mom took me out, we'll get to that, but my mom took me out of the group. And that basically by default, he became like the leader of everything. And my direction was just fun and singing around school and getting girls. His direction was always like, let's go sing for this person and sing for that person and see if we can get a record deal out of it.
But by this time, had Sisqó come back?
Yeah, he came back, and it was a whole thing at first. So people was like, oh no, they not gonna like each other. When they meet each other, they gonna fight, they gonna fuss. But it never, to my understand, when I was around, I never saw any of that. Like it's more like everybody clicked and everybody, because it's like it wasn't no reason to click for real. I mean, clash for real, because they both was doing two different things. Like Sisqó was always from day one, he was one of the singers in the group. And Oak was always more or less a businessman, behind the scenes type of guy. He and I used to do a lot of the writing. Like I used to bring songs, like original songs. I used to make up songs and teach them to everybody. And he used to do the same thing. He used to make up songs and sing to everybody. So if anything, Nokio and I were more like in the same line or in the same vein. So if it was going to be any clashing, it would make more sense to me and him, because we both did pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
But like Sisqó was there to sing, and he was flashy. Even from those days, he was flashy. Like when he first came, he was a big fan of Boyz II Men. He used to dress like Wanye, and he used to have a cane and everything and wear a suit. And one time I gave him, we switched tapes, because I was always a big fan of Jodeci, because he just sounded like Church. And we from Church, and my crush, when they first came out with the Gotta Love video, my crush that I used to buy now latest for every day, just so she could come and hug me and ask me for now latest. So one time I overheard her say, and KC loved for me to tell this story. He made me tell it multiple times after I told it to her. Whenever I around, I was like, tell me what they do. It was like a girl, and she was like, girl, it's these 4 sexy men on TV named Jodeci. And once I heard her say that, like that just made me basically, every time I got allowance, every time my mom took me shopping for clothes, I would get some outfit that I saw them wear, or the best representation of an outfit that I saw them with it on. And I would just walk around school like that, singing their songs or whatever, to the point where people didn't know my name. They used to call me, oh yeah, because that's the thing that people used to do. So I've loaned him my Jodeci tape for a week, and he loaned me Boyz II Men tape, because like at that time we get an allowance, so you might not be able to get both. You get whichever one you get, and then you hope somebody trade with you. So I was introduced to the style of Boyz II Men when he did that, and I started, like doing different things with my harmonies and stuff like that from listening to Boyz II Men. And he came back. When he came back, like I said, he was dressing like Wanye. When he came back, he had on the outfit from the Come and Talk to Me video. The next time I saw him, like after that weekend, but he had an orange, like theirs was white and see-through. His was orange and clear. He had that same outfit on, and he had his hat turned from front ways. If he used to wear he used to wear like them Gap hats, like what Boyz II Men wear. He came back with his hat, or a hat like this turned backwards, and his shades on and everything, like he was KC.
Wow.
And it was cool to me because I always loved Jodeci. So it was like at that point, I used to try my best to do KC's parts when we sung. After that, I just switched and started doing like JoJo's parts, which fit the kind of voice that I had better anyway because it's like more like smooth and pretty singing. I always loved Troop and
Yeah.
Steven from Troop how they sung. So it fit Ralph from New Edition. So that fit anyway. So it was just us doing that like every day for forever. And then once in a while we're throwing a couple Boys and Men songs off of there for off the Cooley High Harmony album. And it was us and eventually Nokio switched schools. And that's when he ran into jazz. But before that, we would just meet after school every day and sing. And my mom, I was supposed to be after school in coach classes, like getting help in the classes that I wasn't doing so well. It was only one like
Okay.
math classes because I always excelled in like English and reading and all that, but math was always I was like borderline. And once I found out that I wanted to sing, I just stopped putting any effort into it. I was like, man, I
Okay.
don't need this stuff. So I was supposed to be at the school in coach class because her being a teacher, she didn't want me doing bad. I was always an honor roll student, so she wanted me to keep that up. So one day she saw me, came up to the school randomly, like try to encourage parents to pop up on their kids. And we standing at the front of the school singing Earth Angel, New Edition Earth Angel. Would you
Okay.
be mine? And I'm singing the Ralph Tresvant part. As soon as I say, would you be mine? The girl was like, I'll be yours. And I'm looking around to see who said it. And before I could figure out who said it, I just felt the arm on me. It just yanked me out of
Oh.
the building. It was my mom for real. So after that, she basically made it really difficult for me to remain in the group because she was like just keeping an eye. My dad used to pick me up from school every day. Well, one point I used to catch the bus, but for the most part, my dad used to pick me up from school every day. So she had him to be there on time before she would have him come a little later so that I could have time for the coach class. But when she found out I was singing and not taking coach class, she would have my dad to be right outside the school every day, ready to pick me
Wow.
up. So I was able to sneak and do the performances that were in the school, like especially if they were during the school day. But
Yeah.
and they ended up doing one performance and meeting their manager, who was still their manager, but they met him and he was, excited about the group or whatever. So he started them doing talent shows and different events and stuff, and I could never make it to any of them. So I basically sat down and I let them. I mean, we talked about it. It's like it's just best for me to just let them go ahead and do their thing without me because it don't make no sense for me to be at some performances and me not be at other performances. Like that's kind of crazy and confusing to anybody who would follow the group, even at that time, because Baltimore was big on groups, big on talent. Like with talent shows here, which is like big news just in our city. Like people was making good money off of just having talent shows right here with local people and our group would always be a group that wouldn't have to sell tickets. Like a lot of people had to sell tickets to be able to
Yeah.
perform in the show. But because of the level of talent, our group never had to sell tickets. Like they were just like basically a bonus for everybody that was there. So people was making money. Like it was lucrative.
So
Not
who was
like
in the group
it
at the
was.
time? Who? So
Oh,
wait.
once Nokio switched schools, he met Jazz. And so once he met Jazz at the new school that he went to, it was like Sisqó, guy named the same guy, Chris, that what I told you was more like a comedian or whatever. Like
Yeah.
he could cut hair. Yeah, those Sisqó, Chris, Nokio, and Jazz. Once they met Jazz at the new school, so
Okay.
because Brevet went to school with me, he ended up stopping singing with him too, and we had our own little group that used to sing that stayed at the school. But that group, the original group, they went on and they were doing like talent shows. They opened up for different comedians. Like they were just meeting people because they sounded good. And so they would go and do shows with different comedians, Chris Tucker and,
Wow.
like different rap shows and stuff like that. They would open up and they ended up getting a deal without me. So there was a development deals with Atlantic Records and they used to come up to the school with brand new clothes on and stuff like that, like looking like they come off of TV and
Wow.
playing me music that they did in the studio and stuff like that. But the whole time they would come and check in with me, like, man, we wish you still could sing with us or whatever. So eventually, what happened is we
But what about
graduated.
the name? There was a name already. Did they have a
No,
name?
no, no. Their
What were
name
you called
came.
then?
They were called Legacy, and it was
Legacy.
like an acronym. It's like letting. It was spelled Legecy. First, they were called 14 Karat Harmony, like 14 Karat Gold, or like Pure Harmony. And then they switched to Legacy, which meant letting every generation encourage the coming youth. They spelled it Legecy.
Okay.
And they they would do like all these different studio sessions and stuff, and they would come up to my school and let me hear the music that they recorded. And like, man, we wish you could still sing with us. So what ended up happening is when we graduated from high school, which was the reason, like that was the reason my mom gave. She really didn't want me singing because she used to be to a certain extent like behind the scenes in the gospel side of the music industry, and she
Mm.
saw things that she didn't like. So she really didn't want me involved because she felt like I would get involved in some of the things that she saw. That was the real reason, and we talked about that later. But at that time, her answer was just like, "No, no, you're not doing good in school. You ain't singing with them boys." So I never got it together at school. So finally, once I graduated, they came to me and said, "Well, now that we not in school no more, you think your mama let you sing with us?" I said, "I don't know." I asked her, and I don't think she said yeah that time. So then they came back to me again, and after they were able to get out of the development deal because they never got put out. Like they had them signed, but they would never put out any of the music they recorded. So they wanted out of it. So once they got out of it, they came to me and said, "If we do gospel music, do you think your mama let you sing with us?" So I asked her, and she agreed to that. So we became a gospel group, and we used to go to different churches. Like we would get gigs at churches on Sundays, and we would
But at
go
this
on.
time, there was both Nokio and
Yeah,
Jazz
it was
from
the
the
whole
church.
group that came out that you saw on the first two albums. It was
Yeah,
all of
no,
us.
but were they also into church families? Because I know you mentioned
Jazz
Sisqó.
very much so. Jazz very much so. He grew up in his dad and his family used to have a quartet group. And I
Wow.
don't know if you know, but Casey and JoJo grew up for a time in Baltimore as well.
Okay.
So the group that Jazz's dad used to sing with used to do show. They used to open up for Casey and JoJo. They were called Little Cedric and the Haley Singers when they sung gospel music. Casey
Wow.
was like 12 years old and he used to have his own quartet. Him and his dad and his family, they used to sing. So
Okay.
Jazz, to the point where the first time we met Jodeci, all the rest of us were in the audience and Jazz was backstage. Jazz's dad was backstage in Casey's dressing room at the show.
Okay.
So like he was heavy into gospel music. Like whole family, his mom sings, dad sing, all his sisters and brothers sing. I think his uncles and aunts, all of them, like they heavy in the church, heavy into gospel and stuff like that.
And then what
Sisqó
about
also.
Yeah, Sisqó.
Sisqó, his mom, I mean his aunt is a well-renowned gospel choir directress around Baltimore City as well. So he was heavy into it. Nokio, not so much. He ended up at one point he quit the group when we became a gospel group, and it was just the three of us. It was just me, Sisqó, and Jazz doing a lot of the shows and stuff like
Okay,
that.
so he didn't think he was gonna go anywhere.
No, I mean, I think he just didn't feel it. Like that wasn't the type of music that resonated with him or that he envisioned himself making. You know.
Yeah.
He ended up coming back, but it was just
Yeah.
a point in time where he wasn't doing it. But after a while, he came back.
So how did you guys do when you were doing the gospel then? What was the difference when you did the gospel compared to when they were doing the R&B?
Basically, just the what we were singing about for real, because like we would show up looking like a hip hop group or whatever, because like we wore whatever was popular at the time, and that was the thing. Like we would show up. This is around the time when everybody was wearing like hockey jerseys, like the early
Yeah.
'90s, hockey jerseys and baggy jeans and Timberlands, and we would show up
Yeah.
like in the church. And Sisqó hair was blonde at that time too, because like
What?
yeah,
Wow.
so it was just like looking at the group that came out, but and just singing a song, singing about the good Lord as opposed to singing about girls. And
But
it was like
how did the audience respond to seeing you guys looking like Jodeci but singing like the Winans?
the people our age loved it. The girls and even the guys like used to give us dap and stuff like that. Like they loved it. But the pastors sometimes would make little comments like, "Oh yeah, we need to kick up a collection for these guys so they could buy some better clothes to wear here the next time they come and sing and stuff like that." So it was cool. It was edgy. And like I said, like I was saying earlier, it was kind of tough for me because like sometimes they would book an engagement or whatever, because even we still had the manager with us, so he would book us to be able to sing at these churches. So it was actually like paid gigs, and my
Wow.
mom would still be like, "Oh, you better make sure it's not a Sunday. Let me call down the church and see if they wanted you to sing this week, because if they want you to sing, then guess where you ain't going." You ain't
Wow.
going with them old darn boys. You going right down here to the church. And so a lot of performances, a lot of times I sung at my church, I sung with an attitude at that time. And it was crazy because like, you know how some people operate good when they mad, like the Incredible Hulk. Like
Yeah,
he
yeah,
turns
yeah.
stuff up because he mad, but he actually doing good stuff. So it's like that was some of my most well-received performances, but I really had an attitude because I wanted to be with my group. And I
Yeah.
was like, my mom was like, nope, you're not going. You're gonna be over here at the church because
Wow.
they made you first. So they had you first. So eventually that was going good for me, but eventually the guy who got them to deal with the Atlantic Records, he was still had his own label and stuff. So he called and asked us to try gospel music. I mean R&B music one more time. And at that point, I had to get my pastor involved because like my mom, we just couldn't like we never argued. I was always like the kid that just went along with whatever my parents said or whatever like that.
Mm.
So that was one thing, one time that I stood up to my dad was pretty much neutral too. Like he's just cool. He's just a cool guy. Like whatever my mom's, he just wanted peace in the house. Like what
Yeah.
the a lot of them guys say, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was that because my mom was like his dream girl. So he just let whatever go or whatever. Like he ain't really give an opinion or whatever. He just like whatever you say, Joe. And that was it. So like but me and my mom had like butt heads for the first time ever. And I was like, normally I would just back down, but at that I just refused to back down at that time. So I made a suggestion, like if we asked my pastor at the time, and he says it's okay, then would you let me do it? And she said, that sounds fair enough. So we went to my pastor. And what ended up happening is his son was a musician and he was in Germany, like over there playing at jazz music. So he's a jazz pianist. So his job was to be over in Germany playing jazz music, which is
Wow.
also not gospel music. So he was like, like basically it would be hypocritical for me to say that he shouldn't be able to do it if my son is over here doing what he's doing. So he's basically like, as long as you keep what you were taught and the way that your parents brought you up, like you said earlier, as long as you keep those things in your heart and what they say, train up a child the way he should go. And when he gets
Yeah.
older, he will not depart from it. So long his thing was, as long as you keep those same things that you were brought up in and keep your roots and stuff like that, I think you'll be all right. So my mom, I left there happy and I was taunting my mom and she ended up giving me the solid treatment for like a couple hours, which felt like a couple days because I was just not used to us not being on good terms. But after that, she pretty much let me do it, you know?
And so that's just, so the manager then said, "Let's. Did you have to go back and audition or change up and start writing new R&B songs?"
We had pretty much a repertoire of stuff that was already in the can or whatever. Like some of the stuff that ended up on our first album that we wrote was some of the stuff that was come up with then. And like by me not being in the group when they were doing it, they would leave. I mean, certain sections were left open or they would redo certain parts. I would write bridge section like the song "So Special" that was on our first album. Like that song was one of the songs that they had from back then. But if the bridge, it was just like a vamp and they were just music and it was really no vocals or whatever, or they were just saying the same thing over and over. And I came in and wrote a bridge section. They told me to write a bridge section of that so I could have a part on that or whatever like that. So we had songs. Like we were always a group that was like self-contained as far as singing. And the guy who got them that deal also bought them a keyboard and they would share it in between each one of them. Like each one would get a week with the keyboard or whatever so they can work on their production skills and stuff like that.
Mm.
And I was always a writer, like from elementary school. Like I was put in a creative writing camp over the summer at one point because I just loved to write
Yeah.
poetry, music, whatever. Like that was just something that I always did. So we had songs, and as far as like what was on the radio, even when we were a gospel group, we never stopped listening to what was hot on the radio. So we never stopped listening to Jodeci and Boys the Men and UNV and Intro, anybody else who was
Yeah.
out. We actually wanted to audition the same day we went to audition for the deal that we got with Island Black Music.
Yeah.
We were upset because we wanted to go and audition to be D'Angelo's background singers. They had something that was coming to Baltimore, auditioning singers for D'Angelo, and
For him
we
doing a
wanted to do
tour.
that. We wanted to do that, so like I know at least me and Sisqó was like kind of salty because we wanted to go and audition for D'Angelo because we had just started listening to that first album of his and me and those dreaming eyes of mine and all them harmonies and stuff that he had. Like we just thought it'd be a lot of fun to sing behind him. So we ain't even want to go. We wanted to go, but we did. We was like, oh man, like when you're a kid, like your mother, like you're going there, but you still looking back, trying to see what's going on over there. So yeah, we never stopped. perfecting, like our craft and being aware of what was going on in music. Because even with our gospel music, we ain't sing traditional gospel songs. We sung songs that we wrote, and a lot of the songs, like especially if Sisqó or Jazz wrote them, they have elements of Jodeci stuff in the songs that we were singing as a gospel group. And we sung the whinings in the
Phase
morning.
two?
Ain't no
Okay.
need to worry. Oh no,
Okay.
not Phase 2, the originals. We sung
Okay.
remember Ain't No Need to Worry, the song with Anita Baker and the whinings.
No, no, no.
Ain't no need to worry what the night is gonna bring. It'll be all over in the morning. It's a good song. But we
Wow.
flipped that and we would sing, each one of us would sing a little verse or whatever of that, and then we'd come in with the harmony and everybody would, go crazy. And then we would sing the radio station here in Baltimore. It used to be a radio station called V103. And every year for Valentine's Day, they would have us to come up there and sing a little
Wow.
bit. So yeah, we had like a whole program for the Love Zone or whatever with the slow jams, and they have us up there singing live. So we never really stopped.
But at
You
this
know.
time, then, did you guys have a sense, we actually want to become recording artists? Because the 90s
Mhm.
had a lot of groups. But then when you're not singing, what are you doing? Are you working? Are you going to college? Or what do you do when you're not singing?
Well, I went to college. I went to Coppin State College here in Baltimore. And that was basically because my mom, another thing that my mom was, like I said, I always got good grades and stuff like that, with the exception of when I stopped caring. But she was just like, "You're too smart not to go to college." So I was in college, and I was also working at a place called the Fudgery, which is where we all were working. And
Okay.
the reason why we all worked there, like I think Sisqó started working there first. And the reason why we were all work there is because if we got a audition or something like that, they would know that a person not lying if we all had to go. So they were really
Okay.
flexible with us, and they would let us all get off on the same day if need be to go sing or go
Okay.
audition for somebody. So yeah, we were doing that. I'm in college, and then also after school every day, my college was pretty much down the street from where Nokio was living in West Baltimore. So after school, I would come to his house and he would be working on some tracks, because at some point the keyboard that the guy bought them switched from going to a different member's house every week to just staying at his house. And
And you guys
so
didn't
like,
mind?
I mean, they minded. I wasn't, like I wasn't there when it was booked, so I kind of didn't consider myself part of that equation or whatever. So it wasn't up mine. I never had a week with the keyboard, so I ain't care one way or the other. But like the rest of them, they used to fuss about it. But what ended up happening is like once he and I started working together, we kind of came up with a style, and it's like the style that we were came up with kind of worked because like our label, we were such big fans of Jodeci that a lot of our original music was come out sounding like Jodeci. And the label was like not really the smaller label, like the little production company that we were signed to. They weren't really fond of that because it's like it's already a Jodeci. So it's like if we bring y'all to the table, we need y'all to have an original sound or whatever. So what ended up happening is like I did the song that I recorded for our first album, April Showers, the song that's on our first album. I did
Yeah.
that. And it was like a couple other songs that Nokio and I came up with in the house or whatever. Like I did that song as a birthday present to my girlfriend at the time because I didn't have any money to get her a real present. So we just had extra studio time after they had me to demo a song for another artist. And then I asked Nokio to play some chords to what I was singing or whatever, like use that extra studio time, and we did that. And that was supposed to be a birthday present. But one of the ladies who was helping us named Kim, she was doing the vocal coaching with us, like teaching us basically not how to sing, but how to sing together and to
Okay.
make our words the same. And made us stand and look at each other in the face and while we sung, so we could see how each person mouth formed the words, so we could all have good unison or whatever. But she ended up hearing the song and she was like, "This is the type of stuff y'all need to be doing. Like this don't sound like Jodeci. This don't sound like nobody." So once we heard that, no, and I heard that, like it kind of put a battery in our backs to where though we just started creating more stuff. And Sisqó and Jazz was still right, but they would come and basically we would set the foundation. Like we would get off of work because they fired the job that we was working at the Fudgery, fired me and Nook the same day because basically, if anybody had a second job, they wanted people who would be available anytime and they could just call you in and they know that you just home or you just chilling something when you can just get to work. So the fact that I went to school and the fact that he had a second job, he was working at a shoe store, also called Downtown Locker Room. So the fact that we both had other stuff to do, they let us go. Like they called all the names of everybody in there. And they said, "We call your name in this group, you stay in. If you call your name in this group, thank y'all for your time, but y'all out of here. Y'all time up." So because we had that time on our hands, and I only went to school for like 2 courses a day. Cause like I said, I was only going to pacify my mom. So I went, my major was criminal justice. So I would go and take my criminal justice class, and then I would go and sing with the school choir. And then I would take a voice class up there at the school and stuff like that, stuff I wanted to do anyway. So I would, at the school, I would come to his house and we would start working on the songs that you hear on the first album. Like we would come up with he would play something and I come in with a melody. I'm good at like freestyling melodies and stuff like that. And then once we got the melody locked in with the chords, then we would both go back and forth with the lyrics or whatever. Like I might come up with some and then he might come up with some and then we might put together what we got, or one of us, we like what one of us came up with. We just, all right, you got that one. And that's what we would do. And then Jazz and Sisqó, when they would get off from work, they would come over. And then once we had the lyrics and the melody and all that solidified, they would come and arrange the harmonies around what we had. And then if it was any gaps that needed lyrics or whatever, then they would jump in. And it was kind of like assembly line.
Yeah.
That's basically what we were doing up until the point where we started going out and singing for labels and stuff like that.
At this point, had you changed the name to Dru Hill?
No, the name
Legacy?
Dru Hill didn't come until we actually got signed. And when we would get ready to put the song out, they said the label president called Nokio. Like I said, he was always the one that was like included in the business stuff. So it was like, y'all need a name. Like Legacy is already taken or whatever. They said, like, I don't know if it was spelled the same, but either way, they said that name is already registered by somebody. So y'all need a name. And it needs to be a name that if people hear that name, they would know that y'all was from Baltimore. So he came up, they went through some other stuff, and then he finally said, it's a park here in Baltimore that everybody at that time, like in the summertime, everybody would come to that park. Like all the guys would get their cars shined up and stuff like that, and put all their jewelry on and stuff like that. And all the girls put on their booty shorts or whatever, they tube tops and stuff like that, come out looking good. And it's just like a good time, like every Sunday, you know? And so he's like, that's like a central point in Baltimore. Like everybody our age, everybody goes there, everybody knows that. So that's how that became the name of the group, but they took the ID off of it and just said.
But what's the name of the park?
Druid Hill Park.
Oh, Druid Hill Park.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
yeah, but type of way they shortened it. I don't know exactly how they came up, got that variation of it, but I remember him calling us.
Nokio.
Calling all us on like a conference call or whatever, like a 3-way. Like, you called him and you called him. We all on the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, yo, this our name, Dru Hill. And it was just silence on that phone. Like, we was so mad. We was like, yo, people gonna think we local, yo. They gonna think we ain't nobody. There ain't no name for nobody all over the world. They gonna think we local. And he's like, well, it's too late. It's already on the soundtrack, because you already know the way that we got signed. We went up to audition and we sang, and they put us in the studio that night to record that song. And the soundtrack was already getting ready to come out. The soundtrack was
Which soundtrack?
Eddie, the song Tell Me, the first song that we came out with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that soundtrack was being mastered. When we went up to audition for the Island Black Music people, Hiram Hicks and all his staff, we went up and that song was already on the soundtrack and Dave Hollister was singing. Like, we went up and sung our songs. And while we were singing our songs, Hiram Hicks was singing Tell Me. And we was like, dang, that's rude. Like, we standing here singing and he's singing something completely different. Like, he's not even paying us no mind. But really what was happening, he was envisioning how we might sound singing that song. So as soon as we finished, wrapped up the song that we were singing, he put that song on. He had somebody to bring him the little DAT tape, because that's what they had back then. He had somebody bring him the DAT tape and he put that on. And we heard it and we went crazy because, like, you know, Dave Hollister and Jodeci is like family.
Yeah.
So it's like they got that similar sound. At one point, like, it was hard to tell Dave from KC. Like, Brenda's Got a Baby almost sound like KC, you know? So like, we was hyped that that's our sound that we love. And they heard us with that sound too. So it's like, how y'all feel about this song? I'm like, we love it. And what it wasn't that that Dave wasn't doing a bang up job with it because he surely was. Dave sing anything. He could sing. Well, Senor Hall used to say he could sing the alphabet and make it a hit for real. So it's like the politics of it was Dave wasn't signed to Island Black Music. So why not have a group that's on your own label to push a song? You see what I'm saying? And you can come out with an album right behind it. So with that logic, they basically put us in the studio that same night. We went up there to audition thinking we coming back home. They put us in the Hit Factory that night.
Wow.
Had us to go in and do that song. And right after that, they put us in rehearsals and stuff so we could be ready to perform it and stuff like that. So it happened really fast. So when they said this our name, he's like, there's no time to argue it or whatever. But he came back and told us, and we like, we don't like it. He's like, well, it's too late because it's already printed on the thing because the CD was set to come out.
Now, I don't. You've mentioned back from high school that Nokio was the guy with the suit and the briefcase. Who knew about the business side of things, the publishing and the royalties and what kind of deals was? Did you guys just say we just want to sing and not know anything about that, or what was it?
You just basically said it. That's basically what happened. Like Nokio used to like at the same time that me, Sisqó, and Jazz, we sit and studying our favorite singers, learning runs and listening at this per take 6 and these Brian McKnight and these guys learning harmony, different intricate harmonies, intro and all them learning intricate harmonies. At that same time, we all doing that. He over there reading books about what you need to know about the music business and stuff like that. And like consultants and people, like it was a guy that he used to run with that used to co-manage, I think, Shopper Ranks or something. So it's like he always knew the business side of things. And one time I remember him saying, like, if y'all make sure we good on the singing side and make sure we look good on the singing side, I'm gonna make sure that we good on the business side.
Wow.
And he ended up good on the business side. Me, not so much. I can't speak for nobody else, but I can't blame that on anybody because we all get the same 24 hours in every day. So it's like you should never, that was a lesson learned that you should never just depend on anybody else to do something that you could do yourself. So it's like take a couple of extra hours off. You already know how to sing. You've been singing since you were 3 years old. You know how to sing. So take a little bit of time. I should have been over there getting them same books, like write down the name of them books and stuff like that, checking them out the library myself. That's something that I definitely would recommend to any up and coming artists who might be watching. I know you got a large base of people who watch your show, like anybody up and coming. What they say, the word in music business, the word business is bigger than the word music. So it don't make a difference how good you can sing or how good you can produce or whatever. You'll be just like one of my favorite movies, Cadillac Records. They say you'll be making him rich and you famous. And what my man say from Two Live Crew, Brother Marquise, I just saw him in an interview recently on Doggy Diamond Show. He say, fame without fortune is torture.
Yeah.
And that is true. You don't want to be tortured, learn that business, man. Man, woman, boy, girl, whoever you may be, learn that business side because that's take you way further than knowing how to do some slick runs and do some slick harmony.
Yeah.
Because the computer nowadays could do your harmony for you. But ain't nobody gonna do that them books and stuff for you and make sure you get paid.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the sad things that we've been listening to over the past year from guests such as yourself coming in to tell us that as Black artists, money didn't flow evenly, and no one tells you about anything. No one teaches you about stuff. They just give you a contract. You're singing, you're in videos, and not knowing what you're paying for and what you're not. But because he said, "I'll handle the business," you guys just had to manage the singing. Was that the effort that you guys then thought, yeah, if we sign here, he's got our back? So what was, or did the label have a different idea and you guys didn't know?
I mean, we actually had a lawyer who was supposed to be, like in everybody's best interest, but like the lawyer we had, he was in the back of the Right On magazine. He was a former actor from one of the soap operas or something like that. And he just had like his acting headshot or whatever in there. They're just like such and such, attorney at law. And he basically told us when we walked in, he said, "Yeah, this is pretty much a standard contract, guys. Go ahead, sign it or whatever." And then later on, when we got real representation, which was the guy, Mr. Londell McMillan, who is he was like 50-50 partners with Prince, and he actually represented the Jackson family in the wrongful death proceedings and stuff like that too. By the time we got to him, he was the one that broke it to us that we basically got screwed, you know. Because like at that time, like coming from the job that we all had, making like minimum wage or whatever, it's like anything with a couple zeros behind it seemed like something like $1,000 seemed like a lot of money when you used to make it maybe like $250 every 2 weeks or something like that. You see what I'm saying? And then also when you meet other groups and you see that y'all selling pretty much the same, like y'all record sales and show turnouts and stuff is pretty similar, but then you see them getting cars and you still like borrowing your folks' car to go out for the weekend and stuff like that. You like, oh, something may add up, something may, right? You know? And
But
it's just a thing of not knowing better.
at that point then, because I know that when I interviewed some others, they said they were offered a record company with a publishing, and some were just offered records separate. You guys were writing your songs, so they must have thought about offering you a publishing deal. Did that come separate from Island?
Yeah, it was separate from Island, but the University Records, who was the production company that signed us, he got us for that before we even got anywhere. Like that was the thing, and it was crazy because like at that time, Jazz was, like I said, Jazz family was just a musical family. So Jazz knew some stuff about the business too. And he didn't sign, like he was holding out. Like everybody else, like me, I jumped in to sign whatever it was that we had to sign. Just like, you mean we gonna be on TV? And everybody gonna see us, not just girls in Baltimore, girls in everywhere gonna see us, man. Shoot, where do I sign? So I'm ready to sign it. And I can't speak for Sisqó. I don't know what was going through his mind or whatever. But I remember getting a phone call from Note, like, yo, Jazz holding us up, yo. Jazz ain't signing these contracts or whatever like that. Like, man, you need to talk to him. Everybody need to talk to him and get on him to get him to sign it or whatever. So I will give credit to Jazz in that particular situation because he knew better than to sign that stuff away. Like me, I ain't know what that was. I didn't realize that, you know, I'm signing away whenever somebody play your song on the radio and stuff like that, you're supposed to get a check. Like I ain't know nothing. I ain't know how nothing worked. All I knew is you sing and people scream and you might get a check for showing up and that's it. But I didn't know about the long-term money and stuff like that. So it's just, it was easy to get me to sign whatever it was. But like I said, Jazz held on, but that peer pressure is a mug and it'll break you at some point. So at some point he ended up signing it. And well, how we found out, like I remember being me and Sisqó, we used to sneak out at different like events and stuff like that. Like after we did our part, we used to sneak. Like we'd be in the studio recording the first album and we in New York, so we in Manhattan. We'd sneak and get on the subway and go down to Brooklyn just so we could say we seen where Biggie was from or something like that. We'd sneak out and go to the mall, the Gallery Mall, and go get some chicken cheesesteaks because I don't think nowhere in Baltimore was doing chicken cheesesteak yet. So we'd go to the mall and get chicken cheesesteaks. And at first it was cool because our video hadn't came out yet. But once our video hit, then people would recognize us. Of course, they recognize him with their hair or whatever. So it's like we end up getting chased out the mall, and the police be like, the next time y'all come in here, we going to put y'all for citing a riot or whatever like that. So keep coming in here. But like we were at the Impact Music Festival, which is the first place that we ever performed Tell Me. And it was like a whole, I think we were there for a weekend. I think it might be a week-long event, but we were there for like a weekend. And we snuck out, and I remember we saw Mint Condition that night. We heard Charlie Wilson for the first time live, and that was crazy because it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and that man was still singing. It sounded exactly like how he sounded on all his records and stuff at like that time in the morning, and like in front of a packed house. So coming out of one of those performances, even Mint Condition or where Charlie Wilson was, we ran into Nathan and Sean from Boyz II Men. And of course, like we looked up to Jodeci, like Jodeci is like crazy all time in our book. And then like Boyz II Men is right there too. It's like almost like Mount Rushmore, but just it's like so it's like to see some guys from our favorite group, we just like, wow, we in awe. But at the same time, we don't want to come across looking like some male groupies or whatever. So we ain't gonna ask nothing personal. We just asking like, look, we introduce ourselves, we from a new group, whatever. Like, is there any advice that y'all could give us? What's the best advice that y'all could give us? We try to come up with an intelligent question. And when we asked them that, they was like, first thing came out their mouth was publishing and all that stuff. And we was like, don't ever sign away your publisher. Don't ever do this. And me and him just looked at each other like, damn it, we just did that. Yes. All the stuff he's saying don't do is what we just did like a couple weeks ago. We just looking at each other. and we screwed.
Wow. So but then so Jazz had to sign, or you wouldn't come out as a group.
That's what we were told. Like, if everybody don't sign it, then But
it sounds very similar to Guy. Timmy Gatlin didn't sign, and he was forced out by Gene because the others were like, "We've signed, you need to sign."
I watched that one too. Yep. Shout out to him too, man. Like I'm a big fan of his work. Like I'm a big fan of the songs that he's written and stuff like that, and his character from what I see on the interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, because he was saying it that because he didn't sign, and he says, "No, I'm not going to sign this." Then they pushed him out, and everyone else had signed, and they didn't realize. So, but for you guys, but I also have to. Most of the people who watch will sympathize with the fact that you've been given an opportunity to be signed on Island Def Jam or a record label, a video, and they're saying sign here because we need to get you going. And Tabitha from Cut Close, she said that the lawyers they bring, even Don Robinson, they said the lawyers work, the lawyers work for the labels because the labels are always going to give them business, so they're not going to.
No, our lawyer actually told us those exact words. Our lawyer told us one time. He said, "Look, I told you he was 50-50 partners with Prince.
Yeah.
And he said, if y'all call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and y'all got an issue," and this was at the time that Prince was called the artist. He said, and the artist called me at 4. Who you think I'm gonna work on? Who you think I'm gonna stop working on their stuff and work on theirs? And then one time he said, I'm gonna help you guys, but I'm not gonna help you guys to the point where it pisses off Def Jam, because it's always gonna be a Def Jam. Like, y'all good right now, but it's always gonna be a Def Jam. So I'm not gonna help y'all to the point where it hurts my business at Def Jam. So that is very, very much a fact.
Wow. How did it affect? Because your album's about to, your singles are dropping. You realize you've sold given away your publishing. How does that then affect the relationship? Because I'm sure you would have thought, Nokio, we thought you had our back. How did that affect the relationship at that stage? And even Jazz having to be forced to sign, was it bittersweet having a big record and yet knowing that you're not making any of the money?
It took a while to hit, because, and I can't say what any of the other guys, how any of the rest of them felt about it, but like, took a while to hit because, like, for number one, when you're famous and you like everybody knows you, you don't really need so much money, because like it's so much stuff that people would just give you. Like, you can walk in the mall and somebody, like, if you take a picture or you sign this wall right here and let everybody know you come in here, you can take one of whatever you want in the store. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Jewelry, clothes, anything you want. So you don't really need it. Don't hit you until when it's not like that anymore. You're not famous anymore. Then you try to go in there and get some stuff and you realize that you ain't gonna get it just off your name, ain't gonna get it no more. Then that's when you go looking for your money. And then you realize that you don't have any. And that's when that really hits you. So like initially it wasn't even for me, it wasn't even a thought, because I could get anything I wanted. And I pretty much call myself a minimalist. Like, I've never been a person that wanted anything too big or too grandiose, like, so the little stuff I wanted, the little money that we was making, I could afford, like a little chain here and there, fresh clothes, and, like stuff like that. But the fact that as far as like real money, I always used to say it was like the equivalent of you going to your regular 9-to-5 job, and then you get into a bus accident. Like, you weren't riding the bus get into an accident, and then everybody get a settlement, and then you can buy yourself something nice with the settlement. What happened with us is that the label, there was a discrepancy. I don't know if you saw the unsung that was done on the group, but it was a disagreement between the label and our group. And during that altercation, it got physical, and some of the representation from the record label ended up physically fighting some of our management and representation or whatever. So as a result of that, we all went to court and we got a settlement. And with that settlement is where people bought cars and stuff like that with. And it wasn't still cool, because it was all the money that was made was recoupable back against the group. Like, what our lawyers got paid, what our management got paid, and what we got paid was all recoupable back to the groups what we owed for the recording budget and stuff like that. So that was our money that everybody got a piece of. And we
Wow.
got the least of it. We got a little teeny bit. Other people that was involved got millions. So we ain't, none of us got, well, I know I didn't get millions. Maybe a
Yeah.
couple 100,000, but not nothing, no real, not compared to what other people got, you know.
Yeah, it's even yeah, it's always hard to hear this, and especially because the label would say we're investing in you. We're
Right.
taking a risk. We're getting the studios. We're getting the producers. We're doing the videos. So we're spending
Mhm.
a lot of money. And back then, videos were like a million, especially if you got Hype Williams, £1 million dollars
Yeah.
a video. So that's a lot of outlay. So they're thinking, we're putting up this, taking a risk. If it
Mhm.
hits, great. Your first
Right.
album, if it goes gold platinum, it would generate maybe 16 million. But we've already
Mhm.
spent, if we did 5 videos on average, maybe 8 million, and then promotion and
Right.
stuff. So it's I can see how the first album doesn't really make, even though it goes platinum, they put
Mhm.
a lot of cost in it. The second
Right.
album does double platinum, okay, 30, 40 million. But then your videos are becoming a lot more expensive as well after that. So I can
Right.
see where, as unless you're doing 10 million albums or so, like a TLC, that's when you can start to
Right.
say, okay, something's going wrong here. Um, in the midst of all this, was the touring. Did your manager say, look, man, where you really get the money is you get some hits, you tour, and that's what comes into your pocket.
That we ain't even make money off of that. And I'll tell you why. It's something called tour support. That whereas though the label pays for certain things or whatever on tour so the artist can pocket the money. But the label was like, we were like the label darlings. And there's a good thing and a bad thing. Like our label just loved us. Like they used to tell us that we kept the lights on and stuff like that. Because just before we came to Def Jam, this was Island Black Music.
Oh,
And it
Alan
was
hadn't
like
merged with
us.
Def Jam. They hadn't
No,
merged.
not yet. It was Island Black Music. It was us, Mona Lisa, an artist by the name of Nika, artist by the name of Myron, and another group that was over there. I can't think of their name, but we were like the flagship. We became like the flagship besides the Isley Brothers because they was over there too. But you know,
Yeah,
Isley
Island
Brothers
Brothers and
legends.
Bob
Yeah, they
Marley and stuff.
legends, and they had their own little thing too, T-Neck or whatever. That was their
Mm.
own sub label, or whatever. Then they had Kelly Price, and she came a little after us. But like we became like the main focus of them over there, and so with that being the case, they wanted to be more involved in with our day-to-day dealings and stuff like that too. Then like they wanted to do part of what management was doing too. So they had ideal tours that they wanted us to do. So if our manager found a tour and we wanted to do the tour that our manager found, or he wanted us to do the one that he had found, then the label found a tour and they wanted us to do the one that they wanted us to do. Then they would say stuff like, well, if y'all do that tour that he wants y'all to do, then we not giving y'all no tour support. So now, and that's basically what would happen. Like we would take the tour that our manager hooked up, and as a result, we don't get any tour support. So all the stuff that tour support would cover normally, like transportation, maybe lodging and stuff like that, and all that stuff, came out of our money that we made from the show.
Wow.
And then we had people in the group who had very grandiose imaginings of how they wanted things to be. You see what I'm saying? Like they grew up watching. It's not a knock. Like they grew up watching Michael Jackson. They grew up watching Earth, Wind, and Fire tapes and stuff like that. So that's what they wanted us to be off the break. Whereas though, like you get a group like 112 who sold the same amount of records as us, but 112 is on stage with a DJ playing a CD with the backing vocals and stuff on the backing tracks or whatever on it, and it's just them four on stage and a curtain behind them that say 112 with their logo or whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then you got us with a full band. We got movable parts on our stage. We got a dragon that you push them and pull them to the front and the back. We got pyrotechnics and explosions going off on the stage. We got four female dancers. We got four bodyguards. And at the end of the day, all the money we end up breaking even. The money that they pay for us to come out and perform is the same amount that it costs to maintain all that through the tour. So the only money that we would really make would be after parties. We give you
Wow.
1,500 a person to come to an after party, or we would set up and after the show and had a little backdrop with all the pictures of us on it. Somebody airbrush pictures of us, and we would take pictures in front of that drop after the show, after we finished
Wow.
performing or whatever. So little $400 or $500 here and there, stuff like that. Like that's the money that we would make. We would generate a bunch of money, but by the time we paid back all that, touring was really no money either.
Wow. Yes, funny. I spoke to Blackstreet and they gave the same sort of thing because I went to the Home Again tour, new edition, and
Yeah.
and the guys from Blackstreet mentioned that their sets were almost as big as new edition, but they weren't getting as much, so they weren't. It affected their income.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how
Oh,
then?
shout out to Eric too, man. Like he's
Oh,
one of my favorite artists, like favorite writers. Like the stuff he did for Jaheim and Donald Jones is
yeah,
among, and the Around the Way Girl. Like his role was on Around the Way Girl. It's some of
yeah,
my
yeah,
favorites.
yeah.
So
So
shout out to him. And shout out to you for finding all my favorites for real. Every time I turn around, you talking to somebody that I'm like, oh, I wonder where they was at, and you just be picking them up, man. Shout out to you, and shout
no,
out to all of them.
yeah, no, yeah, Eric was wonderful, but I do wonder then, in the midst of all this, do you did you start having that same attitude of church where you singing, you didn't want to be there, but you had to sing in the midst
Yeah,
of when all the money stuff started happening?
that was like kind of like another part of it. I really didn't want to be there because like me coming in from the beginning, like I said, like it was my group initially. Like before any of that stuff happened, it was me and my guys who used to come at the school and sing. And I was pretty much the lead singer. I pretty much wrote all the songs and stuff like that. So it's like I understand when my mom took me out the group, like people had to carry on and do everything that they were doing. But it's like imagine you started a company and you leave for whatever reason, and then when you come back, the company has become lucrative or whatever, and the people that were still working there, they want you back. They want you to be a part of it again. But instead of you getting your CEO title back and being who you used to be in the group, now you're relegated to basically you're a janitor. Like you're not even somebody with an office or whatever. Like you just the person that come in and sweep the floors and stuff like that. So it's like
Wow.
kind of a respect thing. You're not looked at in the same way that you were looked at like before. And I understand that we have like, and I always would say like sometimes it's to a detriment. Like we're too talented, too much talent in one place. Like you might have a group where as though it's understood that, all right, I only have the talent to sing background. So it's like you got first like this guy right here, he can go. So we gonna make him the lead singer. He's gonna sing all the songs and we gonna back him up because he sing better than all of us. But it's like we had three guys in the group, not one, not two, but three guys that's fully capable of singing whole songs by themselves and doing, because a lot of times in the studio, people don't know. Some songs is really just that one person singing everything, the leads, the
Wow.
backgrounds, and everything. And then we'll learn, get together and learn the harmonies so that when it's time to sing it live, we can do that. But plenty of songs on the record, there's one or two of us doing the
Okay.
whole song. And then we come together. So it's like you got three guys that's well capable of singing all the lead backgrounds and writing and everything. But
Yeah.
then when it come down to it, it's two that's allowed to do it because the way that it was told to me and the way that it was always brought to me, and I always ended up being the person that it fell on. Like it never was a thing of taking turns. It was like, all right, we know you can sing, yo. But if you sing, we got this guy right here that don't really sing. So if all three of us singing and he the only one that's not, then people gonna be like, hey, why he here for? Why y'all got him here? And
Mhm.
then I was like, okay, I could live with that, even though I didn't want to live with that because I'm a person that like to do their part. You see what I'm saying? Like it's like if we win a champ, like this basketball, and we win a championship, but you know that you only had no sweat on your jersey at the end of the night, you feel like, dang, I don't deserve no ring. You know, like even though I'm
Yeah.
on the team, like I want to do my part. Let me at least go out on the court and throw one three
Yeah.
pointer or whatever, so I can say I contributed in some kind of way. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But so I was like, all right, I don't like this, but I made a deal with the president of the production company when I first started seeing that happen. I actually quit before we even came out. And he was like, please just give it 1 year. And if you don't like it after this year, then you can leave with my blessing. But please just give it a year because it look bad if I bring four guys up and only three guys sign or whatever. So please stick around for a year. So I gave it more than a year. I gave it 3 albums.
But
Then you was going to say something. I'm sorry. What you saying?
no, 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 no. So actually, before the first album came out, you wanted to quit?
Yeah, because once I saw how things were operating, because like I said, they called me back. Like I was going to school. I was content with going to school or whatever. They asked me to come back, but then when I came back, my role was so diminished. You see what I'm saying? Like I go to sing, they be like, "Oh no, this gonna be my part. This gonna be Jazz part." And then I go to talk on the record or whatever because I love Josie, I love Devontae Swing, so I go and try to do my little Devontae. Oh no, nope, do all that. So I'm like, damn, what is it for me to do for real? You see what I'm saying? Then it was three of us. Like I said, it was always three people that could do something, and then one person that didn't do it so well. So I had to be the person to take the L so somebody else wouldn't look bad. So then the three of us, me, Sisqó, and Nokio, we all small. And then Jazz was a little heavier than the rest of us. So they like, well, everybody can't take their shirt off because if everybody takes their shirt off, then it's gonna make Jazz look bad. So we need you to keep your shirt on with Jazz. Or if it was an outfit that we would get, and like of course the three of us could fit it and Jazz couldn't fit it, then you gotta wear this other alternate outfit with Jazz. And the alternate outfit was never as nice as the outfits that the other people wear. So they wearing something shiny with whatever on it to make them stand out. And then me and Jazz got on some dull colors, just standing in the back of where though we look like the help. You see what I'm saying? And then it was something that I'm not good at. Like I'm not here to make it look like I'm good at everything and it's always everybody else. I can't dance. So I'm like, if I made concessions to make everybody else look good, but I'm not singing to make this person look good. I'm keeping my clothes on to make this person look good. Who gonna not dance with me? Or could y'all at least like, and there's no disrespect to him because I understand that from what I understand, he actually has a physical condition. But Mike from Boys to Men used to have a cane. And he used to just stand there and look cool and do his little cool walk across the stage while everybody else dance. I said, why can't we do that? Oh no, yo, that's important. Everybody got to dance. So it's like when I have an issue, nobody cares to try to make me look good. But when it's everybody else's issue, I'm called upon to just take a back seat to make everybody else look good. That's what my real gripe. The not making money on top of that was just like the salt on the wound or whatever you want to call it that made me really not want to be there. Because not only am I not doing what I want to do, but I'm not getting paid for it either. So I'm like, what's really to keep me here, you know?
You know, it's funny because when I watched the oh goodness, the How Deep Is Your Love video, I think you're on the roof, and I was wondering why is Woody just almost standing there like he wasn't in the video because you had Sisqó, Nokio, and doing a lot of dancing, and you were just almost looking out as if, when you guys finish dancing, I'll come back. So I didn't understand. So, and I almost thought you didn't want to be in the video, but is it because the dancing?
Yeah, I was actually doing the same dances that they were doing, but because of the fact that I probably didn't look like they looked doing them, like I wasn't moving like they were moving, the camera shots that they pretty much chose to show with me were the ones where I was just like chilling, look cool or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
So
And then, but also these other times when they're spinning round, the first, only the end that they turned, and I almost didn't think you were in the video. I thought they put I thought they put a stunt double there because I didn't. If you watch the video, only at the last part, the last sort of call that you turn around and you see your face, but from most of it when you're on that sort of turn stuff, it's only Nokio, Jazz, and Sisqó that are prominent, and we only just see the back of you.
Right.
Was there a reason, or you probably have? Yeah, maybe if you take a look at the video, you may notice.
Directors probably thought that's who the people wanted to see, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to see his ass. Put him in the back. Put him,
No.
So there's two people that want to see him. We'll let them see him at the end. Y'all wait long enough. Y'all see him a little bit.
But so you mentioned you had a manager who found you guys when you were in high school, and he was the same still person that's there now. When the business and contracts and publishing comes, does the manager not know the business and say, guys, what are you doing? Let's look at this stuff. Or the manager says, yeah, whatever you do, I'm still going to get paid regardless. Or
from my understanding, he was learning on the job as well. Like he had never had a high profile group. Like he was I think he had just graduated from college his own self, and he was working at his family's business here in Baltimore or whatever. So he didn't know a lot about the stuff that was going on either. Like he was almost like the fifth member of the group. he was just like us. He was learning just like we was learning, and
Yeah.
getting in trouble about stuff the same way we was doing it, doing stuff he had no business the same way, just like us.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And I
like
and I and I and
he
I
probably
think,
know now, but at that time he.
yeah. But and it's upsetting that black artists seem to have been taking the brunt of this stuff. We don't hear too much from white, whether rock or pop or stuff. It seems as if even hip hop. I think they seem. I think when only hip hop they may be a little bit exorbitant with their money, but it didn't seem as if they they had the same issues as R&B acts. And
Backstreet Boys and I watched a thing on what's the guy called Lou Pearlman.
yeah, well, yeah,
From what I
yeah,
understand, they got guys like Backstreet and NSYNC and them. They were pretty big, and they went through some. Looking at that, it seemed like they went through some similar things. I think they tend not to talk about it as much. You know, like
well,
some people
yeah.
speak out, and some people don't.
No, he took advantage of all of them, but
Mm-hmm.
then when they all started selling 10 million albums, Jive took in and bought him out and made
Exactly.
sure they got their stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he took advantage of all of them. But they
Mm-hmm.
the thing is that once they spoke out, the industry, everyone rushed to sort it out for them.
That's it. That's the part right there. Like when we speak out, it's just more like so many people be like, "You dummy, you should know better than that. You
Yeah,
should know better." When at the time, like you still kids, like you just coming out of high school. Like we got our deal, like our first year out of high school for real. So it's like
yeah,
we don't know nothing about all that type of stuff, you know. Like and even what we did know, even the people who did know, like Jazz, he was still peer pressured into like if you told that like if you don't do this, then it's gonna mess it up for everybody. Then
yeah.
he got it, you know. So.
What
Yeah.
happened when you moved to when Island and Def Jam merged and you're coming up with your second album, Enter the Drew? Is there more money that comes towards you guys to do more things? I know you're on the Rush Hour soundtrack. You do was there the delay? Did you feel anything change being part of Island Def Jam, or was it any different?
Me personally, no. Like it was money, from what I understand, it's a lot of money, even to this day, that's being made that I personally am not privy to or haven't been privy to. Like there's money from it's a company called Sound Exchange that
Mm,
collects royalties for performances and stuff like that. And the person who's the lawyer for the group sits on the panel for a Sound Exchange or something like that. And when I asked about my money, I was told that one of the members of the group don't want me to have my money. So with that being said, I don't see any of that. Like it's so much stuff that happens and has happened that makes me that I don't get paid off
wow.
anything that had to do with the group. That's why for the launch, that's why if you notice, like on my social media, I don't mention the group. Any of my social media, you my friend Instagram, but I'm on all social media. I never mention the group. I never talk about it because like it never really did anything for me. You see what I'm saying? Like financially, like maybe socially, it's a couple people who know who that I exist because of the group, but it's like even a picture of who they would think I was. Like once they start following me and they see the type of stuff I talk about versus what the typical artist would sit there and talk about, or they
Yeah,
expect me to talk about. Like you might think you joined my page and you gonna see me going to the studio and singing and talking about music. You see me on there posting quotes about being an introvert and overcoming
mm,
narcissistic personality disorder, stuff that's been done to you, stuff like that. You can see what I'm saying? So it's
yeah,
like nothing of that group really has anything to do with who I am as a person. I mean, it
yeah,
has a lot to do with it because those experiences
yeah,
made me the way that I am. But as far as like musical, like people want me, and then when they tag me in things and I untag myself and stuff, like, oh, don't be like that. Like, you don't understand. It's like working at you have a favorite restaurant when you little, like everybody's favorite restaurant is McDonald's. And then you get a job working at McDonald's and you see like all the nasty stuff that's behind the scenes and how the
yeah,
food really get made, that toothpaste stuff that make the chicken nuggets and stuff like that. And like you see that, you're like, I don't want McDonald's no more. And everybody else that still love it, instead of them looking at you like maybe he was behind the scenes and he saw something that made him not like it. They just looking at, oh, what's wrong with you? You must be a
yeah,
hater. You must be
yeah,
this, and you must be that. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
yeah.
So after the in Wikipedia if you read the report, it says that you quit while on the set of Wild Wild West. Was that true? That
Yeah,
actually
that
on the
was
set?
true. Yeah, that
Okay.
one was true.
So what?
Because we, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So had you recorded the track and then this was just a video shoot?
Yeah. What happened was, like I said, that was one of those tracks where I don't believe I might have sung on it, but a lot of tracks, a lot of times, like one person will go in and do a whole track, and we say it's the
Okay.
group because when we come time to perform it live, we'll sound just like that because we can imitate each other's voices or dynamics or whatever and make it sound just like the record. So I don't remember if I sung on the track or not, but the track was done, and we were at the video shoot, and that video shoot was to be, I think, a 10-day shoot. And I
10
think
days.
we were scheduled, yeah, because you remember, if you remember, it was a lot of scenes from the movie and like a lot of the cast of the movie and they doing fights and all that type of
Yeah,
stuff. It was
yeah,
like
yeah.
an
Wilson.
epic video. Yeah, it's an epic video. So like we were, I think, scheduled to be there for 3 days of it. And at that point, I'd already reached my wit's end and we had just got back from a international tour. Like we were over in Europe and we were in Europe. It was like a European leg of a tour. And what ended up happening, like we were on that tour, and every night after the shows, like when I would come off stage, because like it's a difference in how your perception, like you said earlier, when people see you all up and through the video, they gonna scream for you. You're a big star. When a person that they see in the video, and if they blink their eyes and they might miss them, they ain't really looking like, who are you? Like they looking at you on stage. Oh, that's the other member. Like that's what he look like or whatever. So they really like
Yeah.
take you in, like when you play a new song. So every night that was like the response. Like all of them would come out there and everybody screaming because they know them or whatever like that. They see me, they just looking at me, you know. And maybe by the end of the song, if I sung a song, one of my songs or whatever on the show, then at the end of the song, he's like, "Oh, he's all right," and then they clap a little bit or whatever at the end. But it's like everybody else get there as soon as they step up, they like, they see me, hey, yeah, okay. So it's like I got tired of that, and I went to. I'm a very spiritual person, so one night I spent the night on the bus, the tour bus, and I prayed and I asked, I said, Heavenly Father, like, why is it that everybody else seem like they get what they wanted out of this group situation? And why it seemed like I'm not getting nothing that I want? And it wasn't nothing scary. It wasn't no voice that knocked over nothing. I didn't see anything, but I heard a voice inside and it said, you're not never gonna get what you want until you're doing it for me. And so like when I heard that, I was like, okay, and I know what I gotta do. So I'm a people at that time was very much a people pleaser too. So when I saw everybody else, because I spent the night on the bus, the next day when everybody saw me, you know, asked to make the hut go fun, they didn't see me all that night or whatever, and they was hanging out, partying or whatever they was doing. And so they was like, where you was at? Yo, you missed this, you missed this. And it's felt, you know, like camaraderie or whatever. So I'm like, I don't want to break this up. Like these guys, these my friends. You know, regardless how I feel about stuff, these guys are my friends. We did come into this together, whatever. So I'm gonna stick around. So what ended up happening, we went to France, like our first time in Paris. And as soon as we got off the plane, fans met us, like it was always be that people would know you was where you was gonna be. Like it's same here, like when people know when somebody coming in town, if you know somebody work the airport or whatever, they'll tell you
Mm.
what they coming. So people was there to meet us. And like people was hugging us and happy to see us, but at the same time, some of them was like, y'all gonna be fighting tonight. And we looking at each other like fighting, like why would we be fighting? And they start naming different artists. They's like, this person was just here, they got into a fight. This person was just here, they got into a fight. But the thing that we noticed, all the people that they named were rappers. So we can understand them getting into a fight because the type of music that they make, not that it should, but it can make people rowdy. It can make people feel a certain kind of way because
Yeah.
music has frequencies and make people feel certain ways. I know that now, but back then even like, yeah, certain songs make people rowdy. So we thinking, nah, that's not gonna happen to us because the songs we make, when we get finished, everybody, all the guys gonna be looking for the closest lady, and all the ladies gonna be looking for the closest guy. They gonna be trying to get out of here and do some grown folk stuff. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we thought nothing else of it. Sure enough, when we get there, we found out later that it was a group of guys, and they were in good with some of the promoters or whatever over there, and they would pick fights with American artists in attempts to rob them. So we didn't know this. So a guy that used to travel with us, he's from Baltimore, and I'm sure you've seen or heard about The Wire and all those shows and stuff like that based on Baltimore that make everybody think that Baltimore is just like this
Yeah,
gangster,
yeah,
or
yeah.
even statistics that make people think that Baltimore is just this gangster place or whatever, which certain parts of it can be and certain people can be, but I'm sure that's the same everywhere. I go
Yeah.
to your home and you can show me certain parts that you wouldn't want to go, you shouldn't go to if you don't know anybody and you ain't equipped or whatever. You see what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
think we know worse than anywhere else, but we did have a guy that has like that mentality. Like he didn't start anything, but he wasn't to be played with. So like somebody asked, the way I was told that it happened is somebody asked him, could they take a picture with us? And we always had a rule that directly after the show, we would be able to have time to at least like go and dry off and change
Mm.
our clothes and everything like that. So we not out there sweaty and touching on people. We all soaking wet, nasty and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So he told him like, look, give them a couple minutes so that they can get presentable or whatever, and then they come out and take the picture. So he just made a big hassle about it. And the guy, they got to raise their voices, and at some point, somebody hit somebody. And as a result, our security come running into the room, like we need y'all outside right now, right now, right now. So we rushing. He puts us inside a vehicle. And the next thing that happened, it just looked like the Royal Rumble, like on wrestling, like the thing they used to show for when all the wrestlers just out in the
Yeah,
street.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what was happening in the back of the venue. And they fighting, and one of our bodyguards got one of his lip knocked off to the point where it had to be sewn back on emergency
Wow.
surgery. And one of the bodyguards took the same, what they had walkie talkies because they didn't able to have our cell phones and stuff over there because they weren't working. So we had walkie talkies. And one of our guys hit one of the guys, the assailants, in the head with a walkie-talkie, and the guy was like, "You see this? This means somebody had to die because he busted his head, so he bleeding." He pointed to this, so y'all see this? Like he make an announcement to everybody. See this? This means somebody got to die. At this point, guns stopped blazing. The
Wow.
window got shot out of got shot out of the vehicle that was containing our band and our management. But nobody did anything to our vehicle. We just looking at it. It just looked like it's happening in slow motion, like the Matrix or something. And my whole thing in my mind, like I said, I'm very spiritual. I love the Bible. And the story of Jonah and the whale came to me, where as though like when the Lord told Jonah to go to Nineveh and preach, and he
Mm.
didn't want to go, and he went somewhere else. And as a result, the Lord sent the storm, and the ship started
Yeah, yeah,
rocking. And
yeah,
until
yeah, yeah.
Jonah came off, everybody could have died. So I'm like, the fact that I just spoke to the Lord, and he told me he wanted me to come out of his group. It's like everybody could have died because he wanted me to come out. So at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
point, I was ready to come out. But I said, I'm going to be professional and finish this tour over here. So then by the time we got back to the United States, once again, I felt better about everything. I said, man, we
Yeah.
survived this, getting put in and out of venues like the Jackson 5 and stuff underground. We had the bodyguard, we had the U.S. National Guard over there. They had bulletproof skull caps. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? They would walk us in through the kitchen and stuff of the hotel. We never checked in the lobby or anything like that. So I'm like, what they call it, trauma bonding, when you've been through something with somebody.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
almost like
yeah.
going through boot camp or something like that with somebody. It make you feel closer. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like what was meant to make me come out actually made me feel closer to everybody. So it's
Yeah.
like once we survived that, and then we get back in America, and like one of the first stops was to the Will Smith video. So when we get there, it's supposed to be Dru Hill and Will Smith in the video, but then when we get on the set, he said Sisqó, Sisqó. That already was in there. He never said Dru Hill, and we knew that was on the record, so that was nothing to really trip over. We like whatever. He can say that, but they gonna see all of us. But then with the first day of the shooting of the video, he didn't do anything with all of us. Like the rest of us would just sit around all day long, like twiddling our thumbs. And the only person that was shooting video scenes and stuff standing right next to him was Sisqó. And it's not
Yeah.
anything against him, but at the same time, I had my couple lady friends and stuff like that. And because by that time I really wasn't super tight with any of the rest of the guys, because like my main thing was that we sound good together. Like the chemistry for music was great. But as far as like friends, like I'm cordial and cool with everybody, but we don't all like the same stuff. So it's like nobody I really click with like that, to the point where I would bring my own friends from home all the time. Sometimes I bring a homeboy, and we just go around the town and try to find ladies and take them to the movie stuff on our days off. And sometimes I bring a female friend. So this trip, I brought a female friend with me, and she was like, she was excited to come to the set and everything at first, but then after a while, she was like, "You're not doing nothing." She's like, "For all this, we could be back at the hotel doing grown-up activities, or we could be seeing LA or something like that. Like, can you leave?" I'm like, "No, I can't, because I don't know when they might need me for something." But then after a while, just seeing how she responded, like sometimes you need to see somebody from the outside looking in respond to somebody disrespecting you, so you can even realize that you're being disrespected. You see what I'm saying? And it's like the way how she was looking at it made me think, like, man, I'm not doing nothing. I'm like, man, I didn't survive a shootout. And mind you, that wasn't the first shootout. Like, man, Sisqó survived the shootout at How Can I Be Down in Miami years before that. But that's what the group would try to present once as a narrative that I left because people would shoot. My house got shot into before we got signed, and I stayed at that house until we got signed. That was years. Then the How Can I Be Down shooting, somebody was performing on stage, and I won't name them because they was lip syncing instead of really singing. In the midst of it, somebody started shooting, and the bullets was going past me and Sisqó like this close.
Wow.
Whizzing past us and busting bottles. We stand in front of a bar, and there's busting bottles behind our head, and we standing there laughing like Beavis and Butthead. We standing there getting like, oh, did you see
Beavis and
that?
Butthead.
Yo, look behind your head. Yo, look behind you. Yo, we in awe. And a guy came and picked both of us up because this was first album, so I was small. I'm not wasn't stocky. I was small. So he picked both of us up, took us over his shoulder, and ran outside with both of us over his shoulder like two little kids. And I didn't quit the group then, so it wasn't because people were shooting. It was because, like I said, I felt like the Lord was calling me out. And then also at that time, I was almost willing to give my life because I felt like I was going to get something out of it. But by this time, I already have came to the conclusion I'm frustrated that I'm not getting to participate on the records. I'm not getting seen in the videos like that. And I'm not getting paid. So I'm like, what am I here for? So this is just the last straw. You know, like the fact that we sat there all that time and not staying in the video, not doing anything towards the video. I'm like, wow, man, I'd rather be home. I could go home and chill out for real for all this and get me a regular job is what I always told them that I would do. So after that one day, I stayed there for the rest of that day. And I think we ended up making one scene. Like, you look real hard in that video. You'll see me because at that time I was protesting in my own little way. So I had my hair, that's when I had cornrows and I was wearing my hair out in like this big afro, whatever, this big red afro. So you'll see my hair, I think, in one video. But other than that, we weren't being used. So like the next morning when we came in, already hot off of what just happened overseas, they just brought that back to the forefront and then sitting there once again like before because I thought things might be different this time. I played a song by John P. Key, who's a great gospel great for real, called I Bow Out Gracefully. And I called all the group in the trailer and I put that on. And I was like, this is how I feel. And some people cried or whatever. And then some people was like, well, if you're going to leave, then I offered to finish the tour that we had coming up. And Sisqó was like, if you're going to leave, then you might as well leave now so we can get used to how it is with just three of us or whatever. So with that being said, I booked a flight and I flew back to Baltimore.
So you guys have known each other since, you were, high school and kids. And at that point in time, the industry had changed to a point where, this is business. If you want to leave, leave. There's no trying to talk you into staying.
I mean, the trying to talk me into staying or coming back came later.
Oh, no, but this is to complete the tour.
No, he said, if you're going to leave, then you might as well go ahead and leave now so we can see how things are going to be with just three of us.
Yeah.
I said, say no more. I booked the flight and flew back to Baltimore. And on the way flying, I sat next to a older Caucasian lady. And nothing bad about her or anything, but like sometimes, like if it's just a black guy, you don't care who's sitting next to him or whatever. But like an older Caucasian lady, he's like, who is this black guy sitting next to me? And so she started asking me questions about myself. She's like, if you don't mind, can I ask you what you do? Because I was sitting in first class because at that time, I had enough that, I ain't have a lot of money, but I had enough that I could do little stuff for myself or whatever. So I bought myself a first class ticket. And she was like, if you don't mind me asking, what do you do? And I said, because I'm definitely not tall enough to be a basketball player. I was husky, but not husky enough probably to look like a football player. So they just like, who's this random black guy to sit next to me? And I said, well, I used to sing in a R&B musical group. And she said, and I told her what happened and everything. And she was like, her words to me were, no amount of success can compensate for failure at home. So if you're not happy, then you did the right thing. And her saying that just kind of solidified it. I went to sleep after she told me that. I put my little pillow to my side and I went to sleep and slept the whole flight. Felt like a big weight got lifted off my shoulders coming home.
So you go and do your solo gospel album. What was that like to do that?
It was a very educational experience. because once again, like I said, I didn't know anything about the business. So like and from what I heard, I don't know because I wasn't checking on the business and stuff like that. I found out, I've been told by reliable sources that a lot of money was stolen from me during the time that I did that, because with what I was told, I had the biggest budget, one of the biggest budgets of any gospel album to date at that time. And with that being said, a lot of it I did waste because I was bringing everybody who I wanted to work with on the album. I brought everybody to New York, had everybody booked in hotels, and I would bring everybody to the studio. And I just wanted to be like this big organic, like this my one time. The whole
Yeah.
work, wind, and fire thing was, so I just wanted to be extravagant. Like I brought everybody, and I just wanted people. You could be in this room, and you working on this song for me. You could be over here working on something for me, and I just want to walk around from room to room and just jump on songs and do this and do that. So I'm just wasting money, blowing money. And so it ended up coming to a point where they had to reforecast or whatever because they ran out of money for the project and stuff like that at
Wow.
4 months. But then the label told me, like their words to me when they did a press conference when I left the group. And the representatives from Def Jam came up to me, the president and vice president came up to me and was like, you might not be in the Dru Hill business anymore, but we still want to be in the Woody Rock business. So they pumped me up, made me think they gonna put my gospel album out and stuff like that. When in all actuality, it was more so a thing to make sure that I didn't go too far. And they were gonna come back later on and try to get me to come back. And basically, I think before I even left, I had to sign something saying in order that my record come out, I agree to come back and do another Dru Hill record if they, when they reconvene or whatever.
And
So in
yeah.
between that time, they just kept playing with me and yanking it. Like we would record and get the record done. And it's like, but so eventually after a while, it became evident that they weren't going to do anything with me. So somebody from Gospel Centric Records, which is a label that Kurt Franklin is on or was on, I don't know if he still is,
Mm.
but they showed some interest. So they were like, in order for us to release this project, you got to agree to do this. You got to agree to be in the Thong Song video. What sense do it make? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm a full red-blooded male or whatever, so I definitely love to see some cheeks and tatas and all that good stuff. But what sense do it make at the time that I'm getting ready to try to put out a gospel album for me to be in a video about thongs on the beach? You see what I'm saying? And I even proposed the idea that the same way how he called up his baby girl in the beginning, I was like, y'all can call me and say, look, well, we about to hit the beach, we about
Yeah,
to do
yeah,
this or
yeah.
whatever. And I could be like, look, man, I'm trying to be about my father's business or whatever, like give him a little something out the Bible. But y'all boys had fun. Y'all got my blessing. And that would be the send off for the video. And they're like, oh, no, you can't do that. You got to be there, yo. There's never no concessions for me. So I ended up doing that video. Then they had me to come appear at the American Music Awards. All respect to Kelly Price. She's one of my favorite female vocalists of all time. She can sing like nobody else.
Mm.
But even being in the whole Love Set You Free video and stuff, I was supposed to be already gone by then. And they just
Yeah.
kept bringing out more stuff like, if you do this, we'll release you. Do this, we'll release you. Do this, we'll release you. And then finally, when they did release me, it was some understanding between the labels that it was to be no music video or really no promotion for my gospel album. So it was basically just something I did for fun and a learning experience. And the song's up on YouTube and they get really good reviews on YouTube. People like it, but as far as
Yeah.
actually putting it out there and people to this day, it's people that ask me like, whatever happened to your gospel album? They don't even know that it came out because it was never any promotion behind it.
And um, and I think this is some of the things that we've learned about the industry is that they look out for themselves. So,
Mhm.
and if they blacklist you, if, then no one's going to touch you.
Right. One of the members of the group told me when we came back to do the third album, he was like, yo, that's my fault, my bad, yo. I'm the one told them don't let you go and don't do this and don't do this because I was scared that you wouldn't come back and do the next album with us. He admitted it to me afterwards when we was on the beach in Jamaica recording the third album.
But
So
then
yeah, it was all an inside thing.
but when you did come back for the third album,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't do as well as the first two. What was the reason for it? Was it the year? I mean, I'm not the year, but the industry had sort of shifted more to hip hop, or what do you think affected the performance of the Drew World Order?
It was multiple factors, but I know one really, really big factor, and it was admitted. by somebody at the record label. Like they apologized that the direction that they took with that album. Because like there was songs like you said, like music was going more towards hip hop and music was going more towards up tempo music. Like this is around the time when B2K and all them guys came out
Yeah,
and
yeah,
was
yeah.
popping as far as singing. And so like we had songs on the album that DJs were even asking to play. You know, like we had DJ Enough, great legend in the hip hop game in New York, came up to us at 106 and Parker, was like he liked a song called If I Could. We had the ballad, the song on there with Noriega, Put It On Me, that could have went, you know, like it's a lot of songs that could have fit the format of what was going on. But the people at Def Jam, they admitted it later and apologized. Like, we know that you guys were known for ballads. So we just wanted to push what you guys were always known for. And the thing of it is, the ballads pretty much put us in a position that the only people who wanted to really hear ballads was like the urban contemporary stations and the older, and no disrespect to them because that's what I listen to, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like people listening to that, they got kids. And if they gonna choose between buying a CD they want to hear and buying something that their kids gonna want to hear, they gonna buy what their kids want to hear and just listen to you on the radio. And
Yeah.
then just tell you that's a bad cut right there. That number
Yeah.
5, boy.
Yeah.
I'll take that. That's soul music. So it's like we were just performing at a lot of like oldie shows and stuff like that at
Yeah.
that point. So it's like it really wasn't a lot of our core fans or like the fans that were like with the current music and stuff like that. The singles that were being put out wasn't there. So like the people didn't know, hey, they got that on their CD too. They got those type of songs on that album too. I think it was just the way that it was promoted. And then it was kind of funny to people to see us like we used to see in a group one way. When you
Yeah.
see them in a different way and you see a whole another member in the group and stuff like that, some
Yeah, there
people
was
were
5.
confused with that.
Why
Yeah.
why did they agree to go with 5? I mean, how did you all have an agreement that yep, we're fine from 4 to 5, which
Now that was kind of my fault too. Well, I mean, some people might have a different idea of what happened, but as far as I'm concerned, Scola, who was the fifth member on that project, Scola was with me doing my gospel music. Like when I did my gospel project, he is an artist from Baltimore also. And he had a song that was running neck and neck with our stuff on the local countdown and stuff like that. So like he was somebody that we all respected and we like as an artist. And a guy, when I first announced I was working on my gospel project, a guy, one of the producers who was producing with the group, had suggested that I put his cousin's choir on my project. And he bought the choir for me to hear. And it was would have been kind of like a Kirk Franklin type sound or a Todd Tribbett
okay.
sound or something like that. But I explained to him that my vision for my gospel project was to make songs that sound like the same songs I would sing if I was in the group, like my solo songs like April Showers and Angel and stuff like that. Make
Yeah.
those type of songs with that same type of sound, but we just talking about the Lord instead of talking about girls. So I said the choir didn't really fit to what I was trying to do. But the
Mm.
choir's manager was also Scola's manager. So he played me some new music that Scola had been working on. I was like, yo, if he could write a gospel song, that's the type of sound that I want. So he
Mm.
called Scola up and told him that I wanted to talk to him. And Scola was so, like enthusiastic that he ready to do something or whatever. He's like, man, Woody. He's like, I don't want to talk to Woody. I want to see him. So he went and got in his car and hurry up and came over to the studio. And at that time, I had cornrows. He had cornrows. We like not that much difference in our skin tones or whatever. We not that much difference in our height. So when I saw him, actually look at him in person, I was like, yo, he looked like he could be my brother or at least a cousin or something. So I just felt the closeness to him. And then the song that he wrote, like I said, he was so enthusiastic and so hungry. He went home that night and wrote me a song and had it for me like the next day. So the song that he wrote for me is the song that features the group on my gospel album called My Homie. He wrote that song, and when he called me back with that, and we went in and recorded the initial version, and then the label was like, because this title say homie or whatever, he's like, that'll be a cool song with the group to show everybody that y'all still, have some camaraderie or whatever amongst each other. Well, if that's what the public consumption does anyway. So he's like, that should be good for the whole group to do. So that was like one of the first songs I recorded for my project. So once I saw how that turned out, I was like, man, I want you with me, whatever I do. Like if I do any performances and stuff, I want you with
Okay.
me. If I'm doing shows, if I'm doing interviews or whatever, I want you with me. So people saw. So after a while, the group decided that they wanted to get back together because by that time Sisqó had released his second album.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like by that time he was over that, so he was ready to come back and be the group. And so what they did to bait me in, they would come and pop up at some of my gospel shows and stuff and just surprise the audience and start singing backgrounds on. I had a gospel song called Clap Your Hands, which is like Baltimore club music. We have a certain sound for our Baltimore club music, and I took the Baltimore club sound and made a gospel song. So they always, Sisqó liked that because he loved to dance. So he would come out and dance on stage, and the rest of them would come out and stuff like that. So because of that, and I felt like, man, these guys are really my friends. They coming to support me or whatever. But the whole time they had an agenda, they wanted to do another album. So once they got me on board, then Jazz, because I was able to release my gospel project, for better or for worse, Sisqó released 2 projects, and Jazz still never got to release his first project that he had songs for. Like he had a song with Jill Scott that was off the chain. The one with the Nutty Professor 2 soundtrack was a beautiful song, like one of my favorite songs, like not because I know him, but because even if I didn't know him, I would love that song. Like he had great music. Half Crazy by Music Soul Child was his song. So he had music ready, but they never allowed him to release his project. So at that point, he was frustrated. And he was like, I'm not doing Dru Hill. When they come back, I'm not doing it this time. So because Jazz wasn't going to come back, they asked me, they said, what about you, man? Scola is with you all the time. Like, you think he'd come in and be the 4th member in the group this time. So we even took trips and stuff and started recording and everything. But then the label was like that they didn't want to do it without Jazz. So at that point, they told Jazz whatever he wanted to hear. And was obviously it wasn't the truth because this album's still not out, but they told him something that sounded good to him. So he came back. But then I was advocating for Scola because I'm like, this man gave up a whole summer and gave up all this time or whatever. So I don't want y'all to just kick him out after all that. So the happy medium or whatever that ended up happening was it being 5 of us in the group for that project.
But do you think that affected the sales of the group or the dynamics of anything?
I feel like some people looked at it differently, you know, like, and sometimes that's all it takes. Like if you got a TV show and you got somebody, usually got this person playing as the mom or dad or whatever, and then you come back with a different dad, you know, like, or a different mom or whatever. Like some people is not gonna watch it. Some people just not gonna be able to connect because people love what they're accustomed to. They love what they're used to. Like you could bring somebody in, not saying that this is the case, but you can bring somebody in that's even better or more talented than the original person. But if people are accustomed to seeing this person or hearing this person, they don't even want to hear what the new person had to bring to the table. And with us, it was crazy because people said to me, I've seen groups where somebody has left and they've been replaced by somebody else, but there's like, but y'all had all y'all original people and just somebody extra. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, it wasn't even about the talent because I still feel like Scola is a phenomenal writer and I like the way he sings, but it's just like the fact that people were just used to looking at one thing and then you just give them something else with no real explanation, you know, like it's just here, like this just what it is now. You see what I'm saying?
So I'm thinking, because when I interviewed Don Robinson, I was one of those people who, after listening to Set It Off, Don't Let Go, big track, and then they come out with they come out with their first single, I think Whatever You Want or so, and she's not in the video. She's left the group, and it was just the 3 of them. And I in my head, in Vogue 4, and they all have parts, and she's not there. I just couldn't see three females because it just didn't make sense in my head. And I think also Boys to Men, when they went, when Michael left, it just took away that this is at your height.
When Get On Up came out and Devontae wasn't in the video. Like that set me for emotional. I felt the way as a fan.
Yeah, well, I think a little bit with Jodeci that we're so used to Case and JoJo singing.
Like I'm used to them singing, but even the fact that I'm just the 4 of them as a group, like they just was what they say, the girls wanted to be with them and the guys wanted to be them, you know? And it's like for me, I'm as a songwriter too, you know, like I sing, but I'm a songwriter. Like my principal thing is a songwriter, so to know that the guy who write all the songs and stuff like that is just cool with
Yeah.
the different hairstyles, the California West Coast gangster styles and stuff like that. I'm like, yo, where my
Yeah.
man at, yo? Yo ain't
Yeah.
there, you know. So it definitely threw me for a loop to not see him there. It's like any group, any change for real.
Yeah.
When you married to something in your mind and like that's your favorite or whatever, that's your favorite, you pay attention to every aspect of it. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So if you see any one of the parts not there, then it's gonna make you feel a certain way. You're gonna be like, dang, what
But I
happened?
do but I do wonder what the difference with the music itself, because Blackstreet changed their lineup so many times, but when they came
That
out
was
with no.
their thing though. Like Blackstreet, from what I was told, and I could be wrong, from what I was told, that it was only Teddy and Chauncey, I believe, that was signed to the contract, and everybody else was basically at their will to bring in whoever they wanted to bring in. Because every album from Blackstreet, you had a different lineup. Like the first album, you had Dave and Levi and Teddy and Chauncey. Second album, you had Eric and Mark and Teddy and Chauncey. Then
Yeah.
the third album, I don't remember, was it the same lineup from the second one?
It was
At some
Eric
point, they brought
it
in the
was
guy
Eric, Chauncey,
Terrell.
and Terrell, yeah, in the
Yeah,
third.
so it's
And
like
then
every album, so you get used to that from Blackstreet. But when you got a group there for 2, 3 solid albums, or at least 2 solid albums, it was the same people every time. Then
yeah.
when they start changing up people, then that's when you start looking like, hold up, what's going on?
So
You know?
when the third album didn't do well, and Def Jam says that's it, we're gonna drop you. Is that when you felt okay, I'm free to finally leave, or what was the case for you?
No, they didn't drop us because of that third album. They dropped us because of after that third album. They wanted us to come back, and that's when L.A. Reid took over at Def Jam. And
Okay.
L.A. Reid called us up for a meeting. And he asked us what happened, and that's when the vice president of Def Jam spoke up and was like, "I'm gonna take responsibility." It was like a lot to do with the singing, picking, and stuff like that, or whatever. But we once LA Reid was like, "Well, I want a chance to work with y'all. You know, like I like y'all, I like your music or whatever." So
Mm.
he had us to come in. Sorry, allergies. But he had us to come in, and like we were supposed to work on some new music for him to hear something. And like at that time, like around that time, like Sisqó really lost his love for doing the group thing or whatever again. So it's like we would all be in his house in his basement recording, and he would never come down to record. Like the rest of us would just be down in his own house recording songs, and it was like pulling teeth to get him to come and be on the record. So it's like week after like a month or so of not being able to hear at least one finished song from us. That's when Def Jam released us. They said we were non-productive and destructive. And that's
Wow.
when they released us. And it's like before that, I was pulling for us to do another project because I had got engaged. I had met a girl on the tour for the third album or whatever. And I had met a girl and I wanted to get married, but I needed money to sing it and make some money or whatever so that I would be able to get married and have somewhere for us to live. So I would call begging everybody, come on, let's get back together and do something or whatever. And it's like nobody was budging or whatever, nothing would ever happen. So at that point, everybody just went their separate ways or whatever. And what happened with Jazz has a friend from Baltimore, also a very talented guy by the name of Tony Curtis. And Tony Curtis, I send you some stuff once we get off the interview or whatever. But he
Mm.
can sound like anybody. Like he can go from R. Kelly to Michael Jackson to
Wow.
anybody. Like he writes and produces also. So like when he send a song to the label, he'll sing it in the voice of the artist that he had wrote or produced it
Wow.
for, to the point where some of the label people, the representatives, A&Rs be like, "Oh, that's cool. You know him and you already got him to sing it. That's cool." But he'd be like, "No, that's me." Like he actually auditioned for Suge Knight at one point, and
Wow.
Suge Knight used to call him jukebox because he said just like putting the put in the jukebox and you hear the song just the way how it sounds. So him and Jazz were really tight, and he was doing a Christmas song for just for to be played in Baltimore. They asked one of the radio stations asked him to produce a Christmas song, so he did remade the Whisper song "Happy Holidays."
Mm.
And he had Jazz come and perform, and then Jazz wanted me to be a part of it. So Jazz told him to call me. So I'm on the record. And on this particular record, the guy Tony that I was telling you could sound like anybody,
Mm.
he chose to sing like Sisqó. And he sounded just to me, he sounded more like Sisqó than Sisqó did. He sounded like Sisqó from the first album. So it's like when the song got on the radio, it started getting like some rave reviews or whatever from people locally And then people talk, radio station people talk and stuff like that. And like, I don't know what possessed him to do that, but they said we need a name for the group that's on the record or whatever. Instead of just saying Tony Curtis and Friends or whatever name, he could have came up with any name. He said that the name of the group was DH2. So with that being said, people thinking like how Blackstreet now have
Oh yeah,
BS2
yeah.
or whatever. People
BK.
thinking, right? People thinking that we trying to recreate Dru Hill because after all, he got two of the members in
Two of
there,
the
and
members.
then he
Yeah.
got somebody on the record that sound just like one of the other members, and who
Yeah.
like some to the untrained ear, or somebody that don't know, they might have thought that was him. So it's like at that point, Nokio is like in New Jersey or wherever he was living, like what in the world is going on? Like how they do the group without me or whatever. So he did a whole conference call and got me and Sisqó on the phone, and he was like, if I move back to Baltimore, would y'all want to start working on some more music for the group? And at that point, I had come back from my gospel stuff. And, you know, like I saw the way to my mind, the gospel industry, like I told you, my mom was there before and she tried to warn me. Gospel industry is just as bad, if not worse, than the secular music industry, because at least with the secular music people, they tell you in their songs how they are. I'm a
Yeah.
stick up. I like to do drugs. I'm a freak. I'm this, I'm that, and the third. But they tell you that, and then sometimes some people don't even be like that. They be the nicest people you ever want to meet, the R&B and hip hop people. But the gospel people will sit there and cry and call upon the Lord and fall in the floor and stuff. But in the hotel, when you get back to the hotel, you got rooms with people doing everything but what they be talking about in the
Wow.
music. So it's like all that caught me by surprise, and I'm like, if I'm going to be around people doing these same things, I might as well go back with the ones that's authentically saying they doing it. And you know what I'm saying? So I was pretty much over the whole gospel experience, and I wasn't really pumped about doing R&B, but I'm like, it's an opportunity to make somebody or something at this point, because at that
Yeah.
point, the engagement already hadn't worked out. So I'm like, man, pump it, whatever. Let's just go do whatever. So we started working on some more music, but like I said, like Beyonce's dad, Mr. Matthew knows, and wanted to meet with us. Like Sisqó didn't show up to that. It was just me, Jazz, Scola, and Nokio that showed up to that meeting or whatever. He basically wasn't fooling with us too tough at that point. And
Wow.
so once then after a while he got on board, but at that point I was pretty much over it because I was just over everything just not happening. And funny, creepy stuff used to happen in the studio. Like everybody would record their vocals. And when it come time for me to record my vocals, the microphone and stuff would just break. Every time I stepped in the booth, like I would sing. And at that point, early in the game, like I used to come in and I wasn't really used to the studio. So I'd come in and mess up and had to do my stuff over and over. But at that point, I was pretty much to the point where I pretty much knew what I was doing and where I could just walk in and do my stuff and be good. So
Yeah.
I was, and then it'd just be quiet in the room. And I'm like, dang, it was that bad that nobody could tell me nothing. So then the engineer finally come and be like, yo, come in and be like, no, it's the mic, it's not you, it's the microphone. It just stopped. Like
Wow.
every time I would go to sing. And just crazy stuff like that used to happen. And I would have like nightmares and stuff of going up to New York and going into labels and just start wake up out of my sleep swinging and ready to fight and stuff for whatever reason. And I was just like not feeling it.
But
So
were you guys was it yourself, Jazz, Nokio, was Scholar was still there?
Scola, yeah, at that point he was there for a part of it, and then after a point, like a decision was made to be the original for again. So yeah, he wasn't there at that time. No,
But
he
then
was like,
did you but when they come up with to do Drew Dependence, or did
yeah,
did you start recording on that?
yeah. That's this the time that this around the same time. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right where we at. Yeah, so like what ended up happening, I ended up it was Super Bowl Sunday. Like I was just real conflicted about it. And Super Bowl Sunday, I saw a commercial for a company called CareerBuilder.com. I'll never forget it. And it was like this lady was sitting at her desk at work and she wanted to quit her job and she just sitting there like thinking about it and how she was going to do it. And her heart jumped out of her chest and took the blood from that was dripping from when it jumped out of her chest and wrote with his finger, I quit. And then the heart walked it into her boss's office. And when I saw that, I was like, that's what I got to do. So I sent out a mass email to everybody in the group that following morning, Monday morning. And I told everybody that I wasn't going to be participating in the next project. So I got back, everybody responded back like, oh, you know, if that's what you decided or whatever, we support you and just don't leave us, you know, don't leave our lives just because we're not making music together. I actually got a job being a stylist for the group. Like I was dressing them for a while. Like I was picking out their clothes and stuff. Because I was doing that for Sisqó before we started singing back together again. Like for his overseas shows and stuff, I was dressing him and his dancers. So I was dressing the group and stuff. So I was still involved. And then they actually did a radio interview because once they finished the project, like once Teo came in and got put into the place or whatever like that, because he was actually Jazz's artist. And so they did the whole audition or whatever with him singing up against other Baltimore talent or whatever, and picked him to be the fourth member. So they what was I going to say? Oh no, I ended up just doing their clothes and stuff like that. I was still around, but then they wanted to do an interview on the radio. First thing they was trying to get a reality show. And second of all, they wanted to explain to everybody why I wasn't going to be at the upcoming shows and stuff like that. So they basically staged the whole thing where as though I quit the group on the air or whatever. Because I already said, we basically want you to say to everybody what you said to us in the email. So when I did it, like when I showed up at the station, Nokio was like, yo, don't, I'm gonna make pretend like I'm gonna hit you. Please don't hit me for real or whatever like that. And then it was just a whole, basically like I looked at it like WWE, you know, but
I think I
so
did see that. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw this on
went,
YouTube.
it went like semi-viral on YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, I
Like,
did see.
and they did get the reality show they wanted. They ended up getting a show called The Platinum House with Keith Sweat on one of them channels, BET Centric, when they had Centric before it turned into, I think, BET Soul or whatever. So yeah, that was all of that.
So, but I mean, so now that you've been out of the group for almost 10 years now, I would say, how has life changed for you since then?
And lovely. I always wanted to, like, even if you ask them and they honest with you, I used to tell management and the group members, I was like, please don't have me home for more than a week without shows, because it's a Rite Aid right in the shopping center right down the street from where I live, and I will have a job. And next time y'all call me and tell me we got shows, I'm like, look, I'm on schedule for that day, so I won't be there. Like I always just wanted to live a regular life where as though I went to work and I came home and I lived in a set place, you know, instead of living out of a suitcase and stuff like that. So it's like basically for the first 3 years, I didn't work. I left the group in 2008. And so officially, that's when the whole video and all that stuff took place. So from then I didn't work for 3 years. I started working in 2011. So this year makes 10 years anniversary that I've been actually just working a 9 to 5 and just living a quote unquote normal life. And that's what I felt like I knew I wanted from the time that I was in the group. So I'm pretty much doing what I wanted to do. You know?
Do you miss singing? Because if we go back to, you started this thing telling us about singing in church and it was a regular thing. Do you get that opportunity to perform in any capacity?
Now with everything that's been going on in the world, you know, like I don't really, but before all that started, I used to get my fix at karaoke. I used to be in karaoke pretty much every week, and I used to have so much fun because it's like people would say, "Oh, it's not fair. You're a professional singer," or whatever like that. But what people don't know, I think it was Samora, the comedian, that was like in Baltimore. Even y'all junkies know how to sing, so it's like, yeah, I might have got a deal, but there's other people there that can sing just as good as me or as anybody else that you might think of to have a record deal or whatever out of here that did make it. It's 10, 15 other people that never made it, never got the opportunity, but are just as talented, some even more talented. So it's like, even though I got a name for myself and people might cheer for me because I have a name for myself or whatever, it's other people who you never heard of. When you hear them sing, you're going to run from the bathroom or wherever you at to hear what they doing. You see what I'm saying? And then it was never about competition there anyway. It's fun. People get drunk and sing, you know, like I had fun singing duets with drunk people. They was like, I just want to sing a song with a star. Come here and sing a song. Yeah, it's just fun. And that's what I always wanted it to be about anyway. I never wanted to be in competition with anybody. Like I just love just people, other people that love music and that just get a kick out of it. So that was my fun. Just doing it right there, karaoke, or maybe do a feature if it's a up and coming local rapper or something like that. And I might jump and sing a hook or something for somebody like that. So there's opportunities to sing.
But then, did you see them, you know, as we're wrapping up, did you see them on, say, DJ Cassidy's Pass the Mic, or just see them performing and do you then think, oh, I missed that and I wish I was back in there? Or, hey, those are the guys. At least they're still, you know, not much love, no problem. But I'm happy where I'm at.
Yeah, that I'm gonna stick with that one. I'm just happy where I'm at, man. It's like when I see them doing what they're doing or whatever, it's like if that's what they still love and they still love to do it, more power to them. But it's like when it gets upsetting to me when they make interviews and they make statements like we get ready to do a tour and it's gonna be all 8 of us. I'm like, when was somebody gonna ask me instead of just saying that it's gonna be that? You know, and doing stuff and billing it as all the original members gonna be there. I don't even know anything about it. And for the 3 people that might have come out to see me, y'all just gypped them 3 people out their money because I'm not gonna be there. You see what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
don't do that. Like, enjoy what y'all got now. The lineup they got now, they got some great singers. Like Smokey and Black are from one of my favorite groups of the '90s. Rest in peace to Static Major,
Oh,
Player.
from Player. Oh,
Yeah, so it's like I love to hear them as singers. You see what I'm saying? So it's like I would listen to them. You see what I'm saying? But it's like
yeah,
I have no desire, and I got video of me singing with them. That's us 3 singing together that I will cherish. You know, until I don't
yeah,
have it anymore. But as far as like singing with the group, with the other 2 members of the group, I have no desire to sing or be in the same room with those 2 guys or the management. So
wow,
don't do that. Don't tell people that. Put no false hope in their ears. You know.
yeah. I mean, it's been very interesting, especially a group that was at this height. But I think, we started off talking about the foundations and that were laid by your parents, and
Hmm.
how a lot of the investment, Christian values, how that is paying dividends now, where you're able to see what you lived and say, I've been there, done that, and it's not everything and stuff. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, and as I said, the only disappointment we always talk about is the fact that the business of music is just real. It robs from everyone, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
can make people bitter and stuff.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but it's at least and I hope we always do with these interviews is, one, to educate the fans, but two, to also give people who might be considering a career in music an opportunity to understand that, look, you need to know the paperwork, or they'll take advantage
Every
and stuff.
time,
Yeah,
every time. And it could turn good friends or associates into people, into strangers, for real, if
yeah,
you're not careful. You know, just be mindful of your spirit, be mindful of the business and all of that stuff. There's so many factors that people don't look at and don't factor into it. They just think I have a gift and I just want to share it with the world, but you got to know the other side of it too.
yeah. With all my
Oh,
guests,
can I say before we go, because I know you
yeah,
said wrapping up, I just want to say shout out to a good friend of both of ours, the brother Kenny Whitehead, man, who was a big influence too vocally. Like when I first heard him sing, because he had like a smooth voice that could be pretty, but then he also could flip it on the other side and sing pretty too. So it's like looking up when Your Love Is a 187 first came out. I was like, hold on, he kind of sound like Dino from H-Town, but then he got a little something on there that I feel like I could sing what he say too. And then me and Sisqó used to sing back in happier times. Like we actually used to sing Beautiful Black Princess. We'd go on double dates. And at the end of
wow,
the night, we'd finish off the night by singing Beautiful Black Princess. I sing the first verse and he'd sing the second verse. So
wow,
shout out to him too, man. That's one pleasant thing, one positive thing that I could say about, my experience. I was able to meet a lot of my heroes and make friends and associates with some of the people that I grew up looking up to, that before just looking at them on TV, I never dreamed that I'd be able to hit them up with a message and get a
yeah,
reply back and stuff like that. So that's one beautiful thing about my time in the industry. So it don't seem like I'm just mad about everything. I'm not.
yeah,
That's something that I love, just meeting people, and then we actually know who each other are. We have mutual respect for one
yeah.
another.
Yeah, no, Kenny is really, yeah, and we've had two different shows, but he's,
Hmm.
to start that young, to have the shadow of your dad, who was
Uh,
an excellent writer and performer,
heck yeah.
and yeah, and but also to forge your own way with his brother and stuff,
Hmm.
and like many of us, has suffered loss recently. Well, both
Yeah,
his dad and and and,
yeah.
and his brother.
And J Step, exactly, man. And also the brother Quentin Tarver. I know you familiar with him. That was with Immature. He came out under Immature and all of them, the young
Yeah,
brother that He was a good friend of mine.
Wow.
He and I met working on a song. Like me, him, and Nokio was supposed to do a record, and we didn't even end up finished recording the record because me and him just started talking about the Clark sisters and all our favorite vocalists and just singing and doing runs with each other. And we would always stay in contact. And like probably like a month before he passed, the last time I heard from him, he had sent
Wow.
me some messages on Facebook, and we were rapping back and forth. So definitely my condolences to his family. Much respect.
Yeah, I mean, this past year has been really tough for a lot of people, and but whether you're famous or not, musician or just retired, it's you start to recognize how short life is,
Yeah.
so that there's no need to hold animosity, bitterness, unforgiveness, and stuff like
Exactly.
that.
That's my thing. I always like I don't mean to talk too long, but like Take Six. I watched an interview recently with Claude, Prime McKnight's brother, Claude McKnight, and he was
Mm,
talking to one of the original members of Take Six that ended up leaving the group. And I thought it was so beautiful that they came and did an interview together, and at no time do I remember hearing any of the members of Take Six bad mouthing him for leaving. He went in on to score music for Sister Act and all that. But like
mm,
with me, the whole unsung that the group did was basically, in my mind, like a smear campaign. Like so many things they could have talked about, but they mentioned a million times that I left the group, not mentioning that in order for somebody to leave somewhere, they had to come back and think that things were going to be different. And then when I saw that things weren't any different, then yeah, I left again. So it wasn't like me just leaving just to be leaving. I left because I had things that was promised to me, and those things didn't happen. So I left, and they chopped
yeah,
up my audio to make me sound like, however they wanted me to sound to fit the narrative. And I
mm,
always wondered why that had to be, like you said earlier, within Black groups. You don't hear
yeah,
white groups and see white artists or other nationalities of artists doing that to each other. But
yeah,
when the Black community is always, that's what sells, like controversy, or you got to make one person a scapegoat or make this person look bad
yeah,
in order to make everybody look good, as opposed to just saying there was a
mm,
difference in direction. Like some people saw it going this way, some people saw
yeah,
it going that way. And when I saw it going the way I didn't like, I left, and I left with, like I said earlier, my blessing. Y'all go ahead and continue to do what y'all do. But every time I come up, Sisqó did a whole breakfast club with the two guys from Flair, and I don't blame them because they just there. Like they wasn't really saying much. And they with them, and that's what they making money with. So of course they might chime in with some ad libs in his favor or whatever the case may be, but they wasn't
yeah,
the ones really saying it. But did a whole they didn't even talk about the song that they released. They sat there and talked about me basically for a whole hour. I appreciate the promotion. I probably got a couple of honeys that probably would have forgot I existed and might say, let me hit him up or whatever, show him some love. So it's like, I appreciate that. But on the flip side, like, why? There's no point. Like,
yeah,
make good music, do things that will bring people to you instead of talking about somebody that's not even thinking about y'all. Like, it's different
yeah,
if I was trying to come up off y'all name or whatever like that, or come up off the name of the group that I actually helped to build, but I don't even mention Drill. You see what I'm saying? Like if you just came across my page on the Humble, you wouldn't even know that I actually even used to sing with the guys, unless you saw something somebody else posted or tagged me in or something like that.
yeah. I
So
mean, as
how
I said,
about somebody not think about you?
yeah, yeah, and as I said, these are life lessons.
Exactly.
But we have seen how the industry. I've seen how the industry has its way of. Damien said that he wasn't. The industry didn't change him, but that if you already, it's whatever's inside of you, it brings out. So
That's it.
if you
That's
have
it.
those sinister ploys within you, it will amplify it. It will bring it out
Yeah.
and actually take it to another level. But
And some people can get you when you are naive and innocent, and they can put stuff into your head as well. Like if you don't know anything, and then you got somebody just pull you up, like, "Oh, you the one. Like you the one. Everybody need to be doing X, Y, and Z, and need to be bowing down to you or whatever like that." Like that might not have been your nature from the beginning.
yeah,
But
yeah,
somebody keep telling you that, or keep telling different people that, they got everybody feeling like that they this, that, and the other. Whereas though before, everybody was willing to work together with each other. But then once everybody get their own circle of friends and circle of consultants or whatever the case may be, it
yeah,
just end up making a mess and nobody ends up with it.
yeah,
Or if you got a person who's supposed to be the manager that's supposed to keep everything fair
yeah,
and between you, and he pick a person to be their favorite or whatever like that, and then just start doing everybody else bad, or they scared of somebody, so they do what they say because they don't want to be put out of their position. There's just so many different factors
yeah,
that make things bad, and it's like we said, both of us said, it's usually our people that do stuff like that. It's not,
Yeah.
but we can talk about our people and this man is holding me down and this, that, but you don't see that man acting like how we be acting.
Yeah.
Sometimes we gotta turn that mirror around and look at ourselves and see what we doing that's causing
Yeah.
us to not be successful. Instead of blaming it on somebody else, you know?
And it's quite easy to do so. One of the things I always used to try and get my guests to help answer is that if you were stuck on an elevator and you were told it'll take a couple of hours, but you had the opportunity to request a movie to watch, what would you want to watch?
Iron Man, the first
Okay.
Iron Man.
Okay.
Because I felt
Yeah.
like that was me. Like when he made a decision to stop working for those companies and stuff like that, to
Yeah.
focus on himself and what he wanted to do. Like everybody thought he was crazy. Like his best friend was calling him up, like, "Yo, what you doing here, man? What you doing with this or whatever like that." And then what ended up happening out of it, he
Yeah.
created Iron Man. It became Iron Man. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
So
Well,
sometimes you can't follow what everybody else think you should be doing. You do what
it's
you
true.
know is innate in you that you know you're supposed to be doing, regardless of what people, if they get it or not at first. Eventually they'll get it.
Mm. Yeah. No,
Mm.
that was definitely a good one. Um,
Mhm.
they're about to put on Iron Man for you, but before they do, they said, "Let we'll play a song." What song do you request to play?
Mm. That's a real good one. Dang. Yeah, I say they can put it on random. They could go around like roulette or whatever. It's got to be either something by Jodeci, Stevie Wonder, The Winans, or Commission. Any
Okay.
song from any of those artists, and I'll be satisfied from that.
I mean, people would always ask, I mean, after all these years, do you still keep in touch with any of the guys like Casey, JoJo, or Boys to Men?
Man, Casey and JoJo have family here in Baltimore, and we actually live like 2 doors down from them. Like I ended up meeting the way how I really met Casey, like really met Casey and JoJo, was that their aunt passed away. Their aunt that lived 2 doors down from me passed away, and I sang at her. They asked me to sing at the funeral, and I ain't know that Casey and JoJo. Of course, you don't ask nobody nothing like that. Like that's real niggerish for real to ask somebody if somebody they gonna be there. So like I didn't know. And so like I probably would have been too shy to sing if I knew that they were going to be there. But like I sang, and JoJo ended up leaving out while I was singing, and like I felt bad, you know. And I'm like, dang, I done made my favorite singer, one of my favorite singers, leave out because like for me it's like Stevie Wonder, then it's Casey and JoJo, and then it's
But
Marvin
why
Wine,
did
on the
he?
Marvin
Why
Winans.
did he leave out?
So no, you know, sometimes when you at a funeral, sometimes you get emotional. Like it might be the
Okay,
words to the
okay.
song, or it might be the actual song, or it might be even the singing. But like, but at that time, I felt bad. But then later on, like after you know when the repast, and then everybody hang out with black funerals, like you might hang out for the rest of the day. So they came over to the house, and like I walked past the car, he was leaned up against his car, and I tried to sneak past, like I don't even want to see him because if he walked out while I was singing, he probably gonna laugh at me or something, or probably gonna be like, ew, man, why you mess up my funeral? But he grabbed me to him. And before that, like I ain't tell you, but like I said it before, like I wanted to be a comedian. So me singing
Oh,
was more or less like me doing impressions, sounding like somebody or whatever. It's like when you sing a church song, you really not impersonating anybody. You singing it from your soul. So it's
yeah.
like I was like, maybe I wasn't good. So like when I walked past him, I had got all the way past him. And JoJo, I don't know if you ever met him, but he's very like hands on. Like he's quiet. He looked quiet on TV, but he's very hands on. Like he'd grab you up. So he just grabbed me out of nowhere and like pulled me back to him. And I'm like looking in a way like I'm at that point. I'm like, hold up, man, don't grab me. Like you walked out on me while I was singing, man. Don't touch me. And he said, come here. And I said, yes, sir. And he grabbed me close to him. He said, you sung that motherfucker, boy. And it was like for me to hear that coming from one of my all-time favorite singers, I say that's the first time that I actually felt like that I could sing. And when I did a duet with KC, he did a duet with me when I first quit the group. Like after that whole little YouTube thing that we saw,
Yeah.
he called me because their first show was supposed to be in Charlotte, and he was living in Charlotte at the time, or living in the area. So
Mm,
he said, is that real? He said, you okay? He called me and said, you all right? And I was shocked
yeah.
to hear from him anyway, you all right? And I was like, yeah, I'm good. He's like, so that wasn't real. What was I said that wasn't real? He said, oh, all right, it wasn't real. I said, no, sir. He said, so that means you're gonna be here. I'm gonna see you Saturday when y'all come down here, right? I said, oh no, that part about what happened with the fighting or whatever wasn't real, but it really is real that I'm not in the group. And he seemed a little like disappointed or whatever, but then he said, well, what do you need? I was like, well, I like to do another gospel album. And I was like, it would mean the world to me if you'd sing a song with me. So he basically told me to come to his house. He said, we having a cookout Saturday or whatever.
Wow.
And he was like, bring whoever. And I brought down the guy who was producing or whatever. And he brought the equipment down and we recorded. We set up in his house and set up in his gym that he had in his house, and we recorded the song together. So, like we don't talk all the time. Like they very like Casey. I remember when I was down there, I'm a person who's always in my phone, and part of it is just me being introverted and shy, and I just nobody talk to me. And a part of it, I just love social media too. I like talking, answering people and stuff. So he's like, my family think you're rude. He's like, if you just on your phone the whole time, like we don't do that around here. Like we sit here and really communicate and converse with one another and stuff like that. So he's not really a phone person per se. So I don't not call him all the time. But the last time I saw him, probably 2 years ago, Teo, who remember Teo was in the group right before the incarnation that they had. He was singing background for KC, and K got him to call me because me and Teo's birthday is like 1 day apart. So we still communicate, at least like our birthdays. We try to bring our birthdays and like bring his out and bring mine in or whatever. So we still communicate. So he got Teo to call me and invite me down there. So I saw him like 2 years ago, I'm gonna say, when he came to DC and did a show. Me and my couple buddies drove down and caught him at that. So I do see them and sometimes. I'll support them when they drop singles and stuff. But
you're at the other end of the country and there and
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but whenever they in town or whatever, they usually holler at me and we meet up and stuff like that. I got to meet Devontae for the first time when they did the album in 2015. Their bodyguard. Actually, shout out to my man. He ended up Big D. He ended up getting somebody to come down and drive me down to the show so I could see them at that show and everything. So yeah, it's a connection there. Family, Baltimore. Like they basically took me into the family as like a cousin for real. So I called them my big cousins. So yeah, they like saying love to them.
Yeah, I mean that
Thinking like this, man. Still sounded great. JoJo just dropped something this week, and Casey put out that Jesus Saves record, like the latter part of last year. So they still sounding great and doing their thing. I love them guys, man.
Yeah. I mean, yes, yeah. I mean, the people will always remember them. But it's like anything, we talk about, even if Jodeci came back together today, the same way you guys came back, it's always going to be the song. It's always going to be the music, and that's it's what's. But there's still a clamor for songs that were recorded in the '90s and kept in that original structure because it's and not trying to be like anyone else.
I heard Devontae got a vote. I wish he would release some of them joints. Let us hear him. I heard he's sitting on a bunch of Jodeci stuff from back then, from at that time. So we'll love it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't begin to imagine what he has sitting on, what kind of stuff he's sitting on. But for me, it's been really great. I mean, hearing your journey, I was mindful that you've done a few interviews where you've been in depth in certain areas. So I was mindful not to try and get you to repeat some of the things that you might have said other places. So, but just to get a difference.
Appreciate it, but I'm an open book, man. It's like whatever you want to know.
Yeah.
No. Like when you the truth, you ain't got. I mean, even if it's something that you ain't even the one that look good and the squeaky clean in it, it's like the truth will set you free. And it's like if you say it, nobody else can say it. But whatever you want to know, I'm here, man.
Yeah, and as I said, one of the things we understand that no one wants to legislate for people who makes mistakes as long as they learn from them. So the things that you brought up from the guys and what they said and what they did, and on one side we can always look at these guys were young, they didn't know any better, and they made mistakes, and that's great. And then sometimes you may say, no, they should have known better, they should have done that. But either case, the more you share, you release it, and you're in a position to welcome, to open up to others.
It's true.
That in itself would be great. But yeah, I definitely want to thank you for the time, for being able to hear and share your story and your journey, because it's really going to be fascinating. And then also the advice you give, you have set up for for those who are coming into the business. and
Hmm.
understanding the dynamics within the business as well.
Yeah, yeah, got to know that stuff, man, because there's a million people that know how to sing. And
Yeah,
there's no sense of coming into it, and the only thing that you get is just famous, or you just get
yeah,
known and everybody know you, but just your living situation don't change. It
yeah,
don't do nothing to make your life, the quality of your life any better. You know what I'm saying? Like if everybody, like good friend of mine told me, great advice. Fair exchange is no robbery. It's only bad. It's all good when everybody leave the table with a smile on their face. It's only bad when one person leave with a smile on their face and the other one leave still lacking something or still wanting something. But when
yeah.
everybody leave with a smile on their face, then that's when it's a good deal. You know, so make sure you leaving with a smile on your face, and at the same
Mm.
time, make sure you're using your gift or whatever you've been blessed with to put a smile on somebody else's face. You know.
Yeah, and I think that would be great to come back later to reflect on gifting, so people who don't know, understand, or struggle to find out what am I good at and stuff,
Mm,
um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. But it's really been fascinating. As I say, we didn't want to, and I thought when you originally left the group, I thought that somewhere it was almost the way they painted the pictures that you were upset with the direction of the artwork, and the name, the titles, we call it Enter the Dru World Order. It almost felt a little, it could have had other meanings to it, and
You know
the
what's
rumor
crazy?
we got was that it was because of those names that you probably thought, "Oh, look, man, we're turning into something occultish."
You know what's crazy? I didn't know anything about any of that stuff until after I left. And then that was more stuff that was like confirmation, like icing on the cake.
Mm.
Like at the time that I left, I didn't know any of that stuff. But then just the process, like I told you, like the 3 years when I wasn't working, that's the time that I started finding out all that stuff and really like researching and finding out stuff. So I was like, hey, maybe it was meant for me to leave because
Yeah,
of those things. But that was like more something that'll make me stay. That's like you break up with your girl because she did something or whatever. But then after y'all already broke up, then you found out that she cheated on you with your homeboy or whatever. So you like,
yeah,
hey, if I was coming back, now I'm definitely not coming back. But that wasn't what made me leave. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And Tony Terry was talking about his experience within the industry,
Tony
and
Terry from around the same way as me. I think he's from DC, right?
yes, yes,
That's
yes,
what
he's from
it is.
DC. Yeah,
Singing brother,
no,
man, and he seemed
he
real humble too.
yeah, he actually is from North Carolina, but he
Ah, okay.
grew up in DC. He's from North
Gotcha.
Carolina, then moved to DC.
Oh, he the same
Uh,
like Casey and JoJo then, because they born in North Carolina and raised in
yeah,
back in North Carolina.
yeah. He because he did mention about Casey and JoJo featuring on
Yeah, I remember I seen it on here. He said they sung for like some KFC or something
yeah, for
like that, like
chicken.
a
Yeah,
couple
yeah,
dollars or some KFC. See, I
yeah.
watch his stuff, man.
Oh,
I
you do?
don't people will sit there and tell you they watching stuff, but I really watch his
Yeah,
music. That's why I'm
yeah,
like, it's surreal for me to be sitting here like the same way I was meeting Stevie Wonder and all them guys. Like it's kind of surreal for me to sit here and watch you because you one of the people, especially during this pandemic and everything like that, that provided a lot of good entertainment for a lot of people. So I thank you and salute you as well, man. Word.
Wow, no, I appreciate that. That's a big honor. I mean, it's yeah, like most people, I started off, I'm a fan, so I didn't try and go in depth with, oh, let's talk about in my bed and tell me and stuff, because those are we can hear the stories and stuff. But I think it's those behind it. It's the real life
Yeah.
that people like to know and stuff. And it's like it's not all rosy on the back and stuff, because the videos give us an image of you guys are making all this money, you guys are having fun, it's all great, but the actuality of it isn't the case. And I think it
Right.
puts a spotlight, and it helps people to be very careful desiring to get into this business and
Right.
stuff.
Like
Yeah.
just don't do like with anything else. Like I learned I was started off in school. Like I'm an introvert now. But starting off, I was a very super friendly guy. Like, I just used to walk up to people and groups of people and just introduce myself and just start talking and just jump in. And after so many times they get like, yo, why nobody talking to you? Like, who are you? Like, why are you talking to us? Like, ew, get away or whatever like that. Like after a while you learn how to be more careful and guarded. And it's the same thing coming into the industry. Like one of our security guards, may he rest in peace, brother Wendell Grasty, who was out here to security. He was like, man, getting over on y'all is just like taking candy from a baby. You know, like when you don't have any guards up, you don't know anything, you just come. Like I always call it being too happy to be there. When you just
Yeah.
happy, grinning and skinning. And then there's other people who do know stuff and they might see your potential to make them some money or whatever like that. They know
Yeah.
you don't know no better. Just gotta tell you something you want to hear. Oh, you about to be famous. Oh boy, all the girls gonna like you. It's this, that, and the third. That's all it took for me. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Other people, they might have told them something else, but for me, that's all it took for me. Oh, you got to be on TV. Girls from all over the world going to see you, and they going, you know what I'm saying, want to hang out with you or whatever like that. Oh yeah, where do I sign up? You know,
Yeah.
and like when you know better, you do better. So like once you start learning, you know how to protect yourself and what to look out for and stuff like that. So I want everybody else. Like I don't have any children by choice. I don't have any children. So I look at other people who may be younger than me, and some people who may be even older than me, but want to do stuff that I've already done. I take it the same way how our parents pass down advice to us. I like to pass down certain advice to people, and it's like I want to make people do better than me. Like some parents, you got this jealous of their kids. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like they want their kids to feel, or if they see their kid look nicer than them or have certain body parts that they don't have and stuff, they make them feel bad and shame them about it.
Yeah.
I'm the
Yeah.
parent, hypothetical parent that want their kid to do better than them. Like I want them, they got a gift. I want them to shine with it. I want them to use it in the right way and get the right proper compensation because y'all daddy did. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, and as I said, that is definitely the case within the industry that we see, whether siblings or family get affected just because they're hearing people shouting
Yeah,
their names and calling their names, and you start to believe a hype
right, right.
that doesn't really exist and stuff. Thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, but most importantly, to press the notification bell so that you can be notified when we do have a new interview. Loads to come, but thanks a lot for watching.